Here we go now. 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 go now. Here we 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 go now. we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the scene? We've been kicking up the dust, if you know what I mean. We got a good thing going. We got a good thing going on.
Hello and welcome to PUBG Mobile Club Open. This is going to be, of course, well, what can I say, 2021. It has been a long journey when it comes to PMCOs, but it is a huge thanks to Oppo F19 Pro for making it all happen. Hashtag book up your fun along with our media partners. That is, of course, going to be none other than Nemo TV. And to get things moving on along, I'll be your host, Caster. Blotter joining us, of course, is going to be Ankit to take us through the journey, and this is going to be an exciting one. Bangladesh region, well, I hope you guys are prepared because these teams are going to be bringing in war and decimation in the lobby right off the bat. Ankit.
Exactly, as you perfectly mentioned, the war, the word. I mean, I'm completely exhilarated to see because in the past we have seen a lot of talent emerging from this scenario.
True.
And since it is going to be a club open from this Bangladesh region, trust me, it is going to be hell lot of ruckus as we will be heading towards all the matches. But we need to talk a lot about these Bangladeshi players, these Bangladeshi teams. In the past, we have seen a lot of talent emerging, and since this club open also offers you an opportunity for one slot for PUBG Mobile Pro League, and that stake, I mean, along with that money, there is one more thing, the bragging rights, and above that, it is gonna be that PMPL slot. What do you say about this?
Absolutely. I mean, Season 4, PMPL, who does not want to be a part of it? I mean, the money that itself is at stake in PMPL is absolutely ludicrous. But along with that, first things first, they have to get through the PMCO itself. And that's not going to be an easy undertaking.
Exactly.
After all, when you're talking about the teams, we've got 32 teams that are going to be participating right off the bat in the semi-finals that have been divided in 4 individual subgroups. Today, we're going to be introduced with Group A and B, but as the days move on along, of course, 16 teams from the 32 will move into the finals, and that is not going to be an easy feat. Again and again, as I keep on saying it, the competition couldn't have gotten any fierce because we've got some incredibly talented teams that are part of the entire saga.
Indeed it is, and Group A and B will be heading towards the match, but 12 total matches, 4 matches per day is what we will be getting to see. So 4 back-to-back action for the audience that are sitting in right there at the home, that have just chimed in just in order to let you know this is the Club Open Saga that is going to be written from here. And the total prize pool that we're talking about, $29,200. This is a big amount, to be honest, and the first place gets a $3,600, and you get that caption, qualified for PMPL Season 4. $3,600, the crown jewel, the one that gets the first position, and along with that, I mean, this caption is above everything.
Absolutely, but again, as we did discuss right now, you have to be in the top 16. You have to be in the finals then only can you be, of course, moving on to be the reigning champion,
Yeah.
and then you will be qualified for PMPL Season 4. And that, again, like I keep on saying, like a broken record, is not going to be an easy affair when you've got the likes of TRX Esports, Eccentric Infinity, and so many PX Esports. I mean, you've got such incredible teams that it is not going to be easy for any single one of them to try and dominate, because every single team is certainly going to be doing that. And how do they do that? Well, they get those points. They get those points working in their favor, and in that, we've seen certain teams try and work towards just the placement points, and some of them work towards those kill department, and the brainy ones, they work towards both of them synergistically and consistently. That is what is required. The consistency from day number one, from match number one, that will make things easier for these teams.
You just cannot deny the fact that consistency is the key.
Oh, yes.
I mean, even if you take two chicken, if you fall down the line, because at the end of the day, you are getting to be 12 matches for these semi-finals. So even if you take 2 to 3 chicken, eventually that won't be enough in terms of the team that will be playing in. And talking about that, we got to see the Group A, where we got to see teams like Gremlin Storm also joining in, and then it is going to be Unstoppable, Martyrs Epsilon, Esports, Faceoff, ES, and some of the teams we have seen in the past. Some of the teams we have seen what sort of performance that they have lived up to their fans, their expectation. I mean, a lot of things on the stakes. Adding more to that, PX Esports, this is also a team that you have seen in the past. FOF BadBlood, VANGCHUR squad, TT4 Erangel. So we have seen some teams that have that are just brought in on those the invited basis, and some teams have really worked hard to actually make their qualification in all these things. Since now they have come this far, everything is at their stake, because a lot of work have actually gone them. Trust me, it is not easy for all these competitive players to play it. They set up the alarm clocks, they wake up, they grind so hard, because every day the competition keeps changing. The bar is just not set. The threshold keeps increasing. And talking about that, the semi-finals, match number 1 is going to be Erangel, Miramar, Sanhok, and Erangel. So pretty much the same that we get to see 4 games of the day. The void is filled with Miramar and Sanhok, and some teams really love to play all these off maps.
They certainly do, but right off the bat, as we get started off into the battleground itself, it is going to be the opportunity for these teams to, of course, get introduced amongst each other in the lobby, and that is when those drop contestations can be brought in. That is when the teams and their playstyle will, of course, be showcased as to what sort of a strategy are they going to be starting this PMCO with. Along with that, of course, the bragging rights that, yep, on the first day itself we dominated. I mean, it's not an easy task, but it certainly is not a Herculean task as well, based on the teams that we've just seen joining in from Group A and B. We've got a lot of contestations that can be expected from them. We've got a lot of known teams in the entire saga. Now, another thing to talk about is going to be, well, PX Esports, yes, but along with that, TREX Power, another team that has been very, very phenomenal in terms of the play that they've showcased. I mean, MARTYRS EPSILONes, another team that has been absolutely ludicrous and kill hungry and blood hungry when it came down to their play style. So a lot can be expected from them.
You need to be hungry at this stage.
Yep,
Need
absolutely.
to be hungry. The hunger doesn't end, and they need to be satisfied. Some teams do satisfy on the kill points, and as you perfectly mentioned at the start of the game, some teams really balance. Some really you get the soreness, and you need to actually tone it up with those sugars. And also, these are the teams that really love to balance the kill points and the placement points, and in all doing so, one team will be getting at the top. So we just saw that 12 matches will be happening in this semi-final. So
Yes.
once, I mean, if you are done with the 4 matches, you are already done with the total of 1/3 of the total matches played. So you actually need to perform well. Just even if you're not getting the chicken, just be consistent. 10 or 12 points in all the 3-4 matches at the start of the day eventually will set up the tone, because at the end of the day, it is not damn easy for the teams that are sitting right there at the bottom to come at the top.
Yes.
Even if you need to have the cushion all in all. So all in all these things, it will be an important affair to see how the fights actually pan out. And do we have any drop contestation? Because there are some invited teams, then there are some qualified teams, and they will be, some have played in the past knowing the drop locations, knowing where their friends, their opponents actually drop up to, but some actually don't know. So there is bound to happen those drop clashes, as we have been witnessing throughout in this course of this saga, and I'll be really interested to see which map it will be Erangel, Miramar, or Sanhok, or all of the 3.
Well, again, another thing, as you were just perfectly mentioning, I mean, we've got invited teams as well, right?
Yeah.
That makes things that much more tricky for these 32 teams, because we've got teams that have been invited, and in that doing so, the slots, so to say,
Exactly.
5 teams that have been invited kind of take away the slots and the opportunity. But that is something that, of course, will be spoken about when we move on into the finals. Now, talking about the invited teams itself, we've got, of course, Venom Legends, we've got A1 Esports, XB Blood Legion, INES, as well as Black Bulls. Now, these 5 teams, since they do chime in along they take away the opportunity in certain sense, because the 32 teams, well, they have to be that much more grindy now, because, well, only 11 move on foot. So it is going to be, well, a massive play that they will have to showcase and play in every single game, from starting off all the way in towards the end of the saga itself. And therefore, again, like we keep on saying, I mean, me and Ankit, we're almost like broken records every single tournament. You have to be consistent.
The threshold gets pushed every time.
Right.
Every time you get to see the meta eventually evolves. I mean, we have seen 6x getting attached to M416. Now players have started performing that 6x and getting it with the AKM and Beryl also. So it's just one point that I'm talking about, how meta is actually evolving. It's also the circle that keeps changing, and it brings a lot of fathom, a lot of impediments. Trust me, it's not easy at the end of the day, because it's not just the odd that PUBG gods bring up to you, it's also the odd that your opponent brings up to you.
Exactly, and in that, again, when it comes down to the first game itself, the main thing that I believe these teams are going to be looking on to is, of course, based on, well, what sort of a play style are their opponents being approaching the game with. Every single game, that is what will be showcased. And at the end of the day, when we come back to Erangel, now that is where perhaps we can actually bring up the rivalries that's going to be created based on those drop locations and contestations that are to be expected from the likes of these wonderful teams. But eventually, again, it is your guess as well as mine, or Ankit's for that matter, as to what team is going to be reigning supreme. And in that, again, we've spoken about it, that these teams, they are so very experienced that it is a difficult task. It is going to be a steamroll and start that I'm expecting for some few of those teams, but it's not going to be easy, that's for sure, because the other ones, the teams that are going to be, well, bringing their gameplay up for the first time itself, right, they are here to prove a point. They are here to prove that, yes, we might not be known, but we deserve to be known. And that is what they're going to be bringing. And in that doing so, they might as well take the limelight away from those known teams and those plays as well. So an X factor, right? An X factor.
Point noted. Point duly noted. We might not be known, but we need to be known. And that's what proves their mettle. That's what these guns, these young lads are made up of. So we have you just talked about all these teams. I mean, some of the teams are qualified. Some really do have those experience in their bags. I mean, talk about TRZ Esports. We have seen this team in the past, how they have actually performed. Teams like Eccentric, Infinity, KX, Axe, I mean, a lot of teams that have come in. So in all these situations, how the young lad, because now they have a huge amount of sample space to actually study the gameplay, what they actually do. But these I mean, old teams, those vintage don't have those amount of sample space to actually read the newly qualified teams. So it will be a hell lot of trouble for all these teams, I would say, because since they are playing in the same lobby, everybody is equal, I guess.
Yep, I mean, that's what these teams are, players are going to be thinking about, right? That's how you approach the entire thing. I mean, it does not matter if you've got another tournament in your name or whatever, but it doesn't matter. That's past, that's history. Right now, we're creating the future, and talking about that future, these teams are going to be trying to get that in their favor itself. And in that conversation, the most important thing is going to be that consistency, and that consistent play can only be brought in when there's synergy within the team. When there's synergy, there's proper communication, those proper flank angles are being created, it is on point, it is on time, and that is how a fight is supposed to be taken on along. But with that, enough banter from our side. Let's move on into the first game itself. That will be on Erangel. Let's jump right into the action.
Definitely, I would like to add one more thing. The communication along with the synergy that brings into play. But since you are done with watching our faces, it's right the moment where we get to see the match is about to start. The flight path is already on its way. The big wing, the big bird is already on its way as we move towards the very first match of PUBG Mobile Club Open Bangladesh region, from hospital downtown towards the area of Yasnaya and a completely northern dominated flight path. That means the team that love to go towards a military base island will be facing a tough challenge. Right off the bat, curveball has been sent through. It's not the team, it's not the opponents, it's not the other players, but right off the bat, it is going to be the randomness of this battle royale game, the PUBG Mobile Esports game that brings up to them. So it is going to be a tough affair for them to move into the circle, as slowly and steadily the teams are moving towards where they love to do. PX Esports, they are jumping towards, I guess, towards a Gatka split where they are going towards, as we are getting to see them slowly and steadily. Also Unstoppable making a move towards the northern side. I guess Severny is the place that they might face, find the safe haven for themselves, as Martin Rep are also jumping down towards the area of Pachinki, and slowly and steadily the match is on. The match is on, ladies and gentlemen, as it is going to be hell of a banter, as Martyrs have dropped down towards the area where they would love to do so. And I guess it will be left barren as a military base. It seems that nobody would contest that.
Most certainly. For now, the military base is certainly out of the action. But boy, oh boy, talk about the moment that I speak those words. It is military base that the circle is also going to be drawn on to. So now the conversation is what team is going to decide to rotate down towards the military base itself. Of course, that is a conversation that we will move on down towards. But talking about the teams themselves, we do have down towards the western side of the map itself, which has been taken over by Learn From Past, a team that is going to be all to themselves. There's absolutely no contestation for themselves. And onto the Gatka region, we have, of course, PX Esports looking absolutely comfortable. And as of now, talking about early contestations, well, those early contestations seem to be coming in down towards the side of Martyr, because the way Martyr are dropping on along, there are other teams very close into their vicinity. And again, when it comes down to MARTYRS EPSILONes, it is a conversation where, again, where I was talking about in the pre-game segment, they do not run away from fights. They are the ones that try and dominate into those moments. And in that doing so, we could very well expect those moments to be brought on in the first few initial moments of the game itself.
Exactly. MARTYRS Epsilon, they're trying to converge towards the player. They are looking pretty much, not I would say strong, because one player is still parachuting. As we get to see, the icon is still on his way. But shooting race can be a hotbed of contestation, as GS Legend is going to formation against FD. It's Rocks that is in that situation. Does he have the realization that it is Exorcist that is pretty much close towards it? But Rocks, boy oh boy, from the backhand side, it is going to be the first blood. And I'm sure that this is going to be a knock that will be converted into a kill. And with this, Omen Nush will be getting the first ever kill, I guess. Oh no, obviously we get to see the alive ranking standing to 62. That means some teams haven't joined the players with all 4 lobby, and it's the team that is on it to be screened that is going to be GS Legend. 1 kill right off the bat, 1800 meter. I mean, since they have to travel, but they will love to travel, as they have just got 1 kill into the name.
Absolutely. For now, not a good start for the side of course, Faceoff, because eventually they were caught off guard and have been brought down to a 3-man squad from a 3-man squad itself. So it is kind of like GS Legends walked into the arena with 3-man army, but they're like, well, everybody else is also going to be falling short of 1 player, and that's how it will be an equal fair fight, and that's what they've resulted in bringing Faceoff down to. But eventually, as we move into the game itself, as we move away into the circle itself, we are looking at, of course, the southern side of the map, where indeed it is MARTYRS Epsilon who for the moment find themselves all to themselves, but there is a fight, and yes, that fight has been broken out, where we clearly see that a little bit of a kill department was created, and MARTYRS Epsilon, as soon as I brought that name on, Thor has lost his life.
Exactly, and as we get to see, it is going to be the Pachinki, where 7C's GSM is actually positioned, and it is also looking good for them, as 7C's players are in the position. But yep, there we go. MARTYRS Epsilon also into the compound, and slowly and steady, apart from those early skirmishes, else everyone is settled at this moment. I would love to see, since 7C's, I guess, since from the past record, they have sort of different drop location. I would love to see how now they rotate, how now they cut off the rotations, because if you are settled in your home for a long time, it's really tough to actually accommodate and acclimatize to different situations. It's also us, if you are living at a place where it's a really just a moderate temperature, and if you're shifting towards a place where it's really humid and hot, it is the body that doesn't respond. But in all this situation, it is these tough players, it is these tough metal with what they are made up of, and I guess they are pretty much comfortable enough, and that's the reason they have taken the decision. But for now, we have to still wait for that, how the things are going to be panning out. For the moment, is going to be the VANGCHUR squad, the complete squad. It is also named as the squad, so I'm not surprised about that. So Demanopi, it seems that he is getting a lot of shots from different direction, and then people, MARTYRS Epsilon, they are just not stopping after getting 1 man off the lobby. They are just hungering every player down. They are just hungry that I mean, how that first player got down, and just because of that, in order to counterbalance the opposition, they are looking pretty much strong at the moment. Not much of loot they have, because I still get see one level 1 or level 2 helmet or vest, and still they need to loot, but I guess they are looking up to take the fight. So right off the bat, the lobby is looking pretty much aggressive and active.
Most certainly is, and VANGCHUR squad, well, they were able to get away from that wonderful spray that was brought on towards them. Starboy did take a little bit of damage, but thankfully there was no kill that was given away, and that is certainly going to be working in favor of VANGCHUR squad as of now, as we were mentioning it. When it comes down to the utility itself, the team is trying to move on along to get some utilities for themselves, as we can clearly see that some of the players have not really been able to accumulate much, but that's okay as well. It's only 6 minutes into the game, and this is the moment where you try and get all the vehicles working in your favor. You try and get slowly and steadily, as you move on along from one compound to the other, the utilities working in your favor. But in doing all of that, we are clearly seeing that there are a few, as Ankit mentioned, kill-hungry teams that are wanting to take on those early skirmishes as well, and those early early burst damage as well. And that is something that, of course, we've seen Martyrs try and do just right now against the players of course, VANGCHUR. But eventually, for now, it is a decent start for these teams, as we don't really have a team going against a team sort of a fight, and that is going to be working in the lobby's favor, but not, of course, in our favor, because again, I mean, viewers as well as us are here to jump into some action, and as of now, the action is lacking, but it's only 7 minutes in, so we're going to have to take it slow, low-key pace, and when it does come down to that, when it comes down from first phone to the next one, that is when we can certainly expect a lot more contestations to be taking place. Also, talking about the circle I'm expecting in this game to throw quite a lot of curveballs, because the way the flight path was compared to the circle being absolutely on the opposite direction, it is going to definitely bring in a little bit of a turmoil to certain teams.
And in that they're saying so, adding more to it, it is going to be 7Cs that, since they have a lot of experience of Novo Rupnoy area, it is going to be an easy task for them to, I guess, maneuver in the same position, because since they are pretty much aware where the exact locations, the exact alleys of this place are actually positioned, I guess it will be an easy task for them to converge in the situation. But for now, it is going to be a lot of teams that are making an entry. Pochinki is where Oxygen's Rising Stars are trying to just circle themselves up, and this is also one of the teams that I'll have my eyes set upon, as they are now slowly and steadily moving towards where MARTYRS players are positioned. But this is the moment where they will be getting ejected from their vehicle, just in order to scout down the exact areas, and slowly and steadily other players will be joining the fray, but they are in an open position. But till now, I mean, the match is on a slow pace, which I expected. I said that yes, players are looking active, but active only those certain teams, but still they are counterbalancing those activeness, because at the end of it, it's just the first match. You need to actually test the waters. You need to know where the players are actually positioned. You just cannot play silly. And these rookie mistakes, if you do, that will be hunting you in your nightmares. And just in order to avoid that, everyone is just playing passively. And talking about that, it is going to be TREX power that is into the area of one side that is going to be of Novo Rupnoy, where they are slowly and steadily. It's not going to be a long journey for them, 380 meters for the player that is extreme onto that southern side, and that's all what they need to travel. But in all this situation, southern you don't get much of compound, but you have ridges. You know, those wrecked plains are places where if you get hold of that, you can really play good. But before that, we need to see where the circle actually pans out. These sort of circles actually tend to go into Novo Rupnoy. Yep, those military base, military base island bridge, and that's where we get to see slowly and steadily the players will be coming into the circle.
Most certainly will be the case. Talking about Black Diamond, that is a team that is finding themselves onto the military base altogether itself, where they do have a two-man split from the looks of it, where two men have, of course, gotten themselves in the military base, whereas the other two are bridge camp in the area, and that is something that might as well actually work in Black Diamond's favor, because they are absolutely in control of that, and there is no contestation from any other team for the moment, at least. But as the circle will move on along, we shall have to see which way is it going to be pushing these teams. Moving back to the team of Oxygen Rising Stars, there is a first airdrop being dropped very close to their location, and it seems like now they're just going to be planning to go ahead and get that loot segregated for themselves, because after all, a level 3 kit along with a Groza means a lot of firing power that you will have, and the DPS is certainly going to be absolutely ludicrous, and it seems like Zadu is the one who shall be taking that. So they had a little bit of meeting right across that ridge over there. They had a little bit of meeting that, all right, how about a coin toss, and who's going to be going for that first loot? And it seems like, of course, it is Zadu who seems to have won, and is going to be walking away with all of those wonderful utilities that's going to be working in this team's favor.
Exactly, but in the cinema we get to see one team is in that favor, and yes, it is. It's Faceoff ES Roger that the call has been made, and he is trying to take the fight with the DP in its hand, and that red ashes has certainly drawn the attention of a lot of players, and it was Faceoff that was also on this side, and just because of that we can get to see the fight might erupt in a moment.
It most certainly could be. Roger right now certainly did have the information, and as Zadu made a rotation back to his teammates, this is something that, of course, Roger needs to be talking about to his team as well, as they try and create the flag angle onto the ridges, onto these ledge that, of course, Ankit was mentioning earlier as well, and this is something that things can go absolutely in favor of either Oxygen Rising Stars or Faceoff, based on who brings in that early knock and starts that early skirmish. But eventually, as of now, they are both being very, very passive. Of course, Roger did try and bring in a little bit of damage, but that was not to any avail, as not a lot of damage was brought on to Zadu. But eventually the information has been retained from both the sides. Faceoff knows exactly where that team is. On the other tangent, when you talk about the receiving end team that has just walked away with the loot, it is also, well, going to get the information that there is a team right next to them. So it is information being retained, but not a lot of bullets being drawn on across for now. But it is only a matter of time because they cannot play the game, the entirety of the game, staying at this position. They will have to make a devious approach from this, and again, because you're at the ridge, trying to go onto a flank angle is also not going to be easy because it's all in the open. As soon as you get in the vehicle to try and get into a flank angle situation as well, you're giving away the audio cues, and thus information is being given away to the other team, and the X factor that's required in that sort of a push will certainly be lost to the cause.
Certainly in a limbo whether to push or not to is going to be the face of ES, but will they be facing the teams that was on the front hand side? We have to still wait for that, but for the moment it is going to be one team that is pretty much close towards where PX have actually aligned, and these all fights are to be erupting, where we get to see that military base one side that connects towards the main island, where it is pretty much looking good for God's Rebound. So now this is a team that have played really well in the past. Talk about all the players, Sketch, Koa, everyone has just been spot on, and the positioning is also at the spot on until and unless the circle tended to go away. So now this is a big challenge. This is a big challenge for teams that are trying to make an entry, and since the circle is completely 50% favoring water areas, the rest 50% onto the land, and not only the 50%, I would say 25% just onto the main island side, because there are a lot of area that are being still covered in the circle and still onto the military base island. That means in that small portion of a land, the fight needs to be taken care of, and I guess the number of compounds can be counted on hand. I guess it is going to be a bloodbath right off the bat.
It most certainly seems to be the case as the teams are being pushed. I mean, I was talking about it. The circle is certainly going to be throwing a curveball to these teams based on how the circle was drawn in the initial first phase of the game itself, and now that is exactly what has happened. There is a massive water body. That means a lot of fishing moments could actually be expected, but never mind those fishing moments, because right now it is going to be Faceoff who seems to have been caught a little bit off to an edge, and that is going to be turning into a lot of kills that could have been converted. But eventually Faceoff was able to get away from that sticky situation and still retain all 4 players. But right next to them it was 7C that was making a rotation, and along with that Sinners Esports is also the one that is going to be jumping into the arena to try and take on a fight. And as soon as they give away that information, they just directly drive into the vehicle, and that vehicle is now in the water. Doing so has resulted in, of course, Faceoff getting a better chance of getting this fight into their favor, and this is looking like an annihilating play that this team has fought on for themselves.
Trap has been laid and the fish are being carved out from that water, and as soon as it is being done, they are just not able to survive because fish have gills, and gills require that water to actually absorb the oxygen. But for the moment, it's enough of biology as we get towards the fight, as the players are drawing down the bullets and peppering down as soon as possible. A good split that has resulted in 2 kills for FDES at the moment, with Razor and Melio, Das and Roger just trying to find the players. It's 1 kill that Melio has secured in his number, and slowly and steadily he will not be just letting any players come into the same vicinity. If do so, they will be punished for sure. It's for the moment, it's the 2 kill the teams have secured, but till now we don't get to see any other teams, any other fights erupting the same situation. But Black Diamond are really passively waiting with the M249 in its hand. Jigsaw can really do wonders. Trust me, Blotter, trust me, this M249 is the real beast.
It most certainly is, and again, I mean, this team, we did see in the first few moments of the game itself, had gotten themselves down to the 2 players to the military base and 2 players onto the bridge camp, and that is exactly the situation that this team finds themselves in. And now it is going to be a Jigsaw who will be spraying that M24 down and wanting to convert that into a kill. For the moment, of course, the blue zone also chiming in along, taking him 225 meters away from the center of the zone itself. And talking about Unstoppable Esports, it seems like Unstoppable's players are most certainly going to be jumping into the water to try and get a better half of this fight, because Arkans, they'll not be allowed to. He will not be allowed to. He did get a lot of damage, and as he jumped into the water itself, it was Black Diamond that got a better half of that switch and fight. And now it is going to be a rotation that will need to be made from both these teams, of course. And Black Diamond, they are trying to certainly get into the comfort of the zone, but the zone is not going to be that easy to attain.
Playing notoriously. Playing just notoriously, and till now we have seen the gameplay, but it is the zone that is completely not favoring any of the team apart from 7Cs that is still holding the compound, and this is a team that I will have my eyes again looked upon onto. But Black Diamond, I mean, this is not going to be an easy task, because not only that they have to take up the fight, they need to make a rotation. If they try to make a rotation from that water areas, it will be an easy death, and not only that, some points will be given to their opponent. But talking about the fights that is happening on the main island, it is gonna be God's Reborn that is up against one team that we can see in that purple marker, where pretty much close to the area, but PX Esports is also making a rotation, but for the moment it's caused Reborn that is completely trying to take control of the situation. It's the 6 houses that we get to see where legends drop out here in the same area, and at this time it is one more legend, and that is going to be of God's Reborn. On the other hand side, it is going to be BadBlood that is in the open situation, trying not to pepper down the bullets on the top of the teams, but still not able to bring at least one knockdown.
Well, I mean, he certainly did try when it comes down to Tanzit's burst up first, but eventually it was all down to the vehicle and not to the player, and thus resulting no knock has been confirmed for him on the other side. Learn from the past, also find themselves onto those ridges. Now this is where conversation is going to get really critical, and this is where, of course, since these teams find themselves out of the open, it is turning into an absolute chaos and bloodbath for so many of these teams. Faceoff are going to be moving on to take on the players, of course, of Learn from the past, and eventually when we talk about the smoke can only do that much of cover. Eventually, again, when you do know for a fact that it is going to be a team right next to you, well, Faceoff is certainly not going to allow that team to get out of that arena. On the other hand, talk about the kill feed. The kill feed is going absolutely haywire, where we did see 7C jump into the arena. We did see, of course, a lot of teams that are taking so many individual fights as of now.
It is 7Cs that is striking blows onto the players, and it's this time it is God's Reborn that have made a push, a straight push without a knock. Will they be able to survive the onslaught that is coming in? But no, it seems that BadBlood has gone down, but Proper trying to bring one more knock, but 2 players have all of a sudden gone down. BadBlood has pinned down one more grenade onto other players, but it's just the cow that is surviving onto the sliver of NFC, but Sketch is just trying to pin down the players with the area of the compound that is now under the hold of God's Reborn. It is going to be 2 players getting eliminated from the sides of 7C's GSM. Certainly not the way 7C's would have wanted, but then again, it is one big team pushing against one big Goliath. 7C's in this case have been faltering down because they were just not expecting these sort of push, and in all the situations there was no sort of utilities being used. They were just the gunfires, gunshots, and the machinery is being used, and this has brought down to Kapshi, the last player surviving. 1 kill is already on his name, but we know this man is enough for entire squad. He can wipe out in a moment or so if he gets the chance to do that. For now, he's just trying to spot down the players, just surviving on the mercy, I would say, because it's 4 player against 1 that is surviving Kapshi. Trust me, it's not going to be easy. What matter how strong your gun power is, what matter however you try to do it, but then again, it is the competitive lobby where it becomes really impossible to survive. But till now, Kapshi is just waiting slowly and steadily. He's just holding the TPP angle, maybe hearing the sound cues for the moment, and sooner or later, if God's Reborn just goes for the intent, with one intent to completely wipe out 7C's GSM, nobody would stop them.
Nobody can stop them, of course. We just saw brutal skills being showcased from the side of GR Esports indeed, and they were absolutely phenomenal and so very quick in taking on the fight against the players of 7C. Even though 7C had the safety of the compound, it did not matter because GR's skills was just so far apart. And finally, Faceoff are going to be jumping in against the players of Learn from the past and taking on a fight. This fight has been going on since the past 3 to 4 minutes, but has not resulted in the kills that Faceoff's player were hoping for. But now it seems like the tides are going to be turning, as the circle is also going to be walking away from them. Also on the other tangent, when you talk about, well, the fishing situation, it certainly seems like Faceoff is going to be fishing quite a lot of players as the circle is away from them. So the teams are going to be one by one getting into the water, and as they do so, Faceoff's Roger is right here waiting to pounce onto them, and very close to them, of course, is going to be Oxygen as well, and that is a team that has been waiting over there to give themselves the rising star opportunity, and this is when we could very well expect that team to do exactly the same.
Exactly, but for the moment, the Unstoppable that can't do anything, but it is going to be GS Legends, T-Kid that is trying to bring the knock, has brought the knock, and with this, Zenores goes down. Some grenades are being used, and this is the first time, I guess, in this match that we are getting to see the grenades. 3 grenades back to back, since 2 have brought a good result. A follow-up was preempted, and just because of that, we are getting to see. But now it is going to be Tequito with that prone in grenade onto the backhand side. He needs to make sure that he doesn't give a lot of sun cues, else they can be pulled down by FD, and this cannot be a good situation. 3 men is what they are surviving for the moment. 2 player. Okay, so he has also been pulled down. That means last player still surviving.
Well, that is not the play that was anticipated, especially from the side of Oxygen Rising Star, is what I would say. But as we move on in towards the game itself, we are looking at Martyrs, and this is a team that, of course, has showcased some perfect plays earlier as well. And in doing so, it is just absolutely climbing up one step after the other and just bringing down whatever team comes into their vicinity. And of course, with that, we have 21 minutes into the game, 13 teams still alive.
Exactly, but Roger with one one more grenade. I guess this lad has a lot of grenades. I mean, enough of sweets into his bag, and he is just throwing one after another. But finally, it seems that he is getting a lot of shots, and this ridge has been held by FD for last 20 minutes, I guess, because right off the bat, they had held that, and since the circle has been coming into the lap again and again, they have eliminated one squad straight into the water, and now they have their eyes set upon one team. A lot of kills, they have their opportunity to get secure, but on the other hand side, cannot forget the contribution that GR Esports have brought into this match. This is going to be God's Reborn. Will they be able to get closer and closer to Chicken? We have to celebrate for that, but with this, Unstoppable have been eliminated at the 13th spot, with GR Esports getting one more knock, one more kill. That means they are looking absolutely phenomenal, and this time it is going to be obviously for the sides of FOF BadBlood. That vehicle was burst, and I really feel sad for them, because this is the last way you want to actually find yourself away from this match. I mean, you need to take the fight, and then if you fall down, it's okay, but vehicle burst, I mean, that is not looking good for also Oxygen Rising Star, as the players are falling down slowly and steadily, and a tata bye-bye from this match.
Well, it was none other than VANGCHUR squad who was able to put a full stop to the Rising Stars from Oxygen, but eventually, as we move the conversation along towards GR Esports, they are taking a wonderful fight against the players of this team, but it is not going to work out because the team has been decimated, and Gremlin Storm has been sent back into the lobby, thus leaving us with 9 teams remaining. GR absolutely chaos is what they're showcasing, with 6 kills already in their name.
Just 22 minutes on the clock, and we are already down to 24 players alive. I mean, teams are still there, but a lot of players have been eliminated. If the observers are listening to us, I would love to see the live ranking standing, and then we'll get to see an idea what sort of match has actually panned out. But for the moment, it is going to be TREX that is pinning down the players of MARTYRS, that is out in the blues, and TREX on the edge of the circle. They have that advantage, and a running knock straight onto his head, and there we go. Rock OP pops his head, and one more player. Can he go down? But no, till the moment he just went down towards the ridge, it was just impossible for him to connect one more shot onto him, as well as the players are slowly and steadily bleeding out as Playzone takes one more knock. MARTYRS players have been spotted and eliminated.
Yep, it certainly does seem like to be the case, because eventually when it came down to the open run, it was not going to be allowed, and it is none other than TREX Power who are just absolutely decimating whoever tries to get into this area, and it is of course the edge of this small little ridge that is working in their favor, because they've got that much more information as teams try and get into the zone's comfort. On the other tangent, Black, this team has certainly been trying. They made that water rotation. Black Diamond got so very close indeed, but now they take a fight against the players of TREX indeed, and it has resulted in a 1v1 situation where it could result maybe in TREX trying to take a fight for themselves, but it is Black Diamond that get a better half. But no,
reload.
The final player, RJ, is going to get the better half of that fight and will be able to now hopefully give a revive to all of his teammates.
RJ sings the songs well for TREX Power, as they are now powering down towards the last zone of the circles. We are heading towards the 7th circle, ladies and gentlemen. We've still left with all 4 players standing. If they get revived, if they don't get any sort of sweets from other side, and the sweet is that grenade that I'm talking about again and again, but it is going to be again God's Reborn that will be coming slowly and steadily. It was God's Reborn that really eliminated 7C's GSM, and they really didn't have any other option. They didn't have any sort of answer than to just falter down, and now it is a time that God's Reborn are just reigning supreme on the eastern side. They have the numbers advantage. They have those artificial covers that they can make with the help of those buggies if they get distracted, and in all these situations 6 kill is what they are standing at this moment, and if they get all the whole complete lobby, it will be 5 more. That means 11. We have to still wait how the analytics work, but for the moment it is gonna be LFP's player that are completely pinned down in the snack, and one grenade does the business. So it is. I was really expecting that happen, and this was certainly that team wouldn't have actually. I mean, just kind of find yourself in a small shack and giving your sound cues, because the players were moving. That means the players from the opponent side were actually knowing. But Koa, what an angle, beautiful angle he has created for himself, and now it is going to be a 4v4 tough fight, tough challenge again. God's Reborn.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I do want to say for the team that we just saw sent back into the lobby, right? Learn from the past. That team had been holding on to that small little shack for such a long time. I mean, literally, learn from the past, mate. You had been holding on to that, but for how long do you think are you going to be able to survive on to that? We move on into the final circle of course, 4v4 situation where it is T-Rex's Rock OP who has been faltered down, and GR is looking very much in control, very much in contestation to be able to get a chicken dinner for themselves. But when you talk about T-Rex, they have been able to accumulate 10 kills for themselves. So certainly the kill department is working in favor of T-Rex. But as of now, as this is an open area fight, this is going to be a slow, low-key approach that, of course, is going to be created based on the vehicle rotation itself that slowly and steadily these teams are going to have to utilize to get themselves closer against each other. And that is exactly what GR Esports' Sakil is trying to dominate against. On the other tangent, he's the one who is going to be the bait, and of course his teammate right next to him is going to be his cover fire. For now, the smoke certainly helping T-Rex, as it is not going to be easy for GR to spot any team.
You just realize each and every player from Gods Reborn are just using all those vehicles just in order to create a wall, sort of, in order to get not all the bullets get connected on the head. And this is certainly all the big teams across the world use for its best perfection. But for the moment, it is going to be Totter that is leading the charge, and Grenade does the business. I mean, how precisely that grenade was cooked in. I mean, Shimater didn't have an inch and second to move again, and RJ, he just survived the slither of an HP as the smoke clouds in front, and this grenade is doing business. And there we go, 2 knocks straight on the face, and this is going to be leaving Hitman, the last player, surviving. And as soon as he will take it down, it is going to be Gods Reborn that will be getting the first chicken of this PMCO. Slowly and steadily they are marching, and Gods Reborn gets the chicken for their day. It was winner chicken dinner for Cast for 96%. They converted to 100, and there we go. GR Esports right off the bat, a chicken into the name. I mean, what a game. 6 kills were already onto the name. After eliminating 4, I guess they will be getting a 6 before. It makes it 10, a total of 25 points. What a match.
What an amazing skill being showcased from the side of GR Esports indeed. I mean, 1940 damage, 1940 damage in total is what this team showcased, and with that they get themselves on the top of the leaderboard. Amazing start to, of course, the PMCO in the Bangladesh region. I can't say it was expected because, again, these are some talented players that are part of the lobby, and when all of these such talented players and teams go against each other, you know that there will be certain teams that will falter down. Talking about falter down, did not anticipate 7th seed to be falling down that quickly and that easy. But again, you have to give it to him because the way that push was made, right, it was just absolute domination from this team.
That was an open. That was an open push, since it was Kapshi, I guess, or Badra that was holding the right hand side, but he was not able to bring at least 1 knock. Had there been 1 knock in that case, Gods Reborn would have completely been on back foot. But since that was not brought down, all these ifs and but was not in the case, and it was Gods Reborn that also found the last player at the last moment, and that eliminated. But that was a phenomenal approach. I mean, fortune favors the brave. This is a proverb that has been coming in from our ancestral, from the past, and it always fortunes the brave, as we get to see Gods Reborn making that push. And then also in the last moment, each and every player from Size of Gods Reborn was holding that either US or Buggy or maybe Dashia, just in order to create that cover.
Yes.
And what that grenade that really took down the player.
So precise, on point, and just completely decimating. I mean, T-Rex was not allowed to move at all. T-Rex was absolutely put in a full stop position. As they got those 10 kills, that was it. I mean, GR Esports, they timed in and they were like, all right, you've gotten enough kills already. Now it's our turn to take that away from you. And that they did absolutely with perfection. With a lot of synergy that was within the team as well, as they moved on slowly and steadily, as Ankit mentioned, using those vehicles, and just completely decimated their opponents one by one. But an amazing start to the PMCO in the Bangladesh region. But again, that's just game number 1. I mean, and on that,
exactly. Sorry to actually cut you off, but it's so fascinating, it's so intriguing, it's so exciting. I mean, I can also not control on myself, just trying to cut off my host, but sorry for that. But the way the match has actually panned out right off the bat, I mean, we love aggression, we love all these fights actually coming out, and that do happen whenever you get to see these Bangladesh matches.
Absolutely. With that, let's move on and have a look at the most valuable player coming in from this game, the MVP of this entire arena, the first game. It is going to be T-Rex's Rock OP, who was able to accumulate 7 kills. Wow. And 2 assists as well. I mean, last time I checked, T-Rex had 10 kills. And amongst that, 7 kills are coming in from Rock 70%. OP itself. That is just absolutely amazing turn of events for this team. Absolutely, we shall see if that will be the case or not, because again, after all, 10 kills is what I saw. That means if he got 7 kills, the other teammates were only able to accumulate with 3. But never mind, we'll come back to that when we move on to the match rank. And for now, let's have a look at the top players from this game.
Again, it is going to be TREX PES Rock OP, and he was really an overpowered performer for this match. And also, it is going to be Faceoff's Roger with those early kills and those early knocks, and that got converted in himself finding into the top players list. And not to forget about it is going to be it has also been God's Reborn Totter with that 3 kills, 663 total damage and survival time. That is really helping himself up with the 4 kills going into the name of RJ off with 533 total damage. So all in all, a good performance coming in not only by TREX Power, but RJ also joins in as he got that 4. So all in all, if we collect both the players' total kill, it is already 11. If other players from their side have collected more, that will get accumulated all in all, but we get to see. But for now, it is going to be the match summary that is on our TV screen with God's Reborn Totter 2 maximum assist, and it is also God's Reborn Cow with the most utilities used, and I guess half of it would be grenade. Half of it would be grenade.
It has to be. It has to be. I mean, we saw in the final fight itself how this team was so very precise in terms of those utility usage, and along with that, of course, the smoke wall did help a little bit, but that was not enough to bow down. And well, God's Reborn is what you're going up against, so that is what they'll do to you. I mean, even if you've got a smoke wall, they'll bring in those lead barrage and they will take you down. Another thing to bring up is going to be learn from the past. They had only 1 kill. They finished 3rd in this match, and the way they did that was just hold on to that track. We saw the fight where Faceoff Esports tried their level best to push against the players of Learn from Past again and again, but eventually it did not pan out and did walk away, Learn from the Past walk away with those placement points. So it is certainly going to be working for them for now, of course, because this is only 1 game. But as the games progress on along, the kill department is something that these teams are certainly going to have to think about and rethink their strategy about, because after all, if that is something that they lack in, then things are going to get away from them. With that, as we move on to the match ranking coming in, it is TREX Power with 13 kills, 25 points is what they walk away with. GR Esports, of course, they got the chicken dinner and had 25 points. So if TREX was able to bring down GR Esports in that final fight, the amount of points this team would have been able to walk away with had been absolutely ludicrous. But that was not it. As we move on along, Faceoff Esports was very much in the fight again and again, taking on players, fishing them down as well, and have been able to accumulate 8 kills along with, of course, those 8 placement points, thus giving them 16 in total. In all of this, I did talk about Learn from the Past, just that 1 kill, but the placement points, I mean, that is what is favoring this team, and that has resulted in them walking away with 11. But they're going to have to rethink the strategy, because this lobby is going to be dominating as games progress on.
Definitely. Talking about domination, it was not Gremlin Storm that really dominated. There's just the first 5 points that were able to secure, but in all these 5, it is bound to happen, the 4 kills, no doubt about that. And it was just the placement, because each and every one was eliminated at the very early stage of the game in terms of the total teams were surviving, but not in terms of the time that was clicking in. But moving on to the second half of the chart, we get to see Synergy Sports getting none. I mean, this is not the sort of start. At least you need to take 1 from match, and they are still left with their bank account being nil, and they are still yet to make a headway in terms of total point. But we are still left with the 3 games at Miramar, that Sanhok and the Erangel will be slowly and steadily it will just getting in, as the FOF BadBlood also get 4 total points from this match, and also TT for Archangels getting 2 from this. PX Esports, not the start that they would have really wanted, but since a lot of point was secured in the very first page of the game, not much was left for the 9 to 16.
Yep, exactly. And that hopefully does not repeat itself as we move on to match number 2, because after all, we do want to be able to see the other teams participate into this domination that's been showcased, and that is something that's not going to be easy, but certainly I'll keep my fingers crossed for the same. Now, talking about the next game, of course, as Ankit was just mentioning, we will be moving on down to Miramar, and that is where things could maybe take a different toll altogether, right? It is possible that another team that does favor Miramar might be a one that will drain in along and try and bring in that domination. Now, in all of this, 7C Esports were missing from the arena a little bit, but along with all of that, as we move on to the Oppo F19 Pro moments, this is where the entire combination of these fights will be showcased with some perfectly placed sprays.
Yeah, right off the bat, not in terms of the numbers advantage, but 70 minutes is where the fight eventually started happening on a straight approach, where the teams were just heading, was just not waiting to time to clock in, rather try to fate their own destiny and try to seal their own destiny. And this was the last push that Sakil was fallen down, but from the backhand side it was God Reborn, other player that find themselves in the open position, and he was just removed. In this fight, it was an all easy for obviously TP because they were taking the fights, and then they were all looking pretty strong. And TREX, after that push, the grenade that actually got connected with the small opening that Shaq actually asked for, and this grenade, I mean, $1 million sweet. But this was not sweet for TREX.
It certainly was not the play that they were hoping for. But again, I mean, that is just the kind of play that the team of GR Esports move and roll with, and that is something that the opponents just need to face, and face with domination. And if not, well, you will certainly be sprayed down and walked on over, and that is exactly what GR Esports did in that opportunity. But hopefully, again, I keep on saying that hopefully, but hopefully the storyline, the storyline hopefully changes as we progress from game 1 in towards game number 2. But in that, I do want to be able to see these other teams bring in a better confirmed performance, right? Because that is going to be very, very crucial. Otherwise, teams are just going to be toppling you over, and the points are going to be running away from you every single game. But with that, we've got game number 1 done. We're going to go on a short little break, after which Miramar is coming right up.
Here we go now.
Hello and welcome once again to, of course, PUBG Mobile Club Open. This is 2021 Bangladesh region, all thanks to Oppo F19 Pro. They've got first game done, and that was an absolute dominating play.
Yep.
But now, as we jump into the second game, this is where... Ankit, what team do you think this time around is probably going to be decimating in this lobby?
I mean, the rest of the team that actually did falter down, it was again TREX. Maybe they could have done really things differently.
Right.
It was again Faceoff that really got a lot of kill in their own way, and they were taking the fight. So I really want them to actually come up. And some teams that really were in a pitiable position because they were expecting on that military base silent circle.
One team, I have to mention, one team that I found very much pitiable was MARTYRS 1971.
Oof.
They made that rotation out in the open. TREX was very well prepped and ready to bring in that onslaught. One player after the other, MARTYRS 1971 was just completely decimated.
It was outrun. I mean, actually, he was... But till then, he was actually going to go towards that ridge. He was caught off guard, and that bullet connected to his head.
Yep. But
was,
with that is history.
yes.
Let's move on along in this second game, of course, on Miramar, where the flight path is going to be on our screens. And right off the bat, the observers are going to be choosing TREX to show us a wonderful, dominating play. And hopefully, we can expect the same as well. As we jump into the arena this time around, VANGCHUR squad are going to be jumping in with a 3-man army, which is working for them for the moment, certainly. And the same, of course, is the case for FOF BadBlood as well. Talking about the flight path itself, we're moving on from the southern region, going all the way towards northeastern side. So a lot of difficulty for teams who do like to go down towards the western approach of this map, where Montanue and El Pozo are going to be very, very difficult for these teams to actually fly down towards. But eventually, again, every single team do have 2 to 3 different drop locations when it comes to those maps. And again, when it comes to these teams, they're playing against each other for the first time for PMCO itself, and that is where these teams themselves will find out who are their opponents when it comes to those sort of drop contestations. And in that, it seems like all the teams have left the plane and are now, of course, going to be flying on down towards their known locations, towards their comfort spots, simply put. TREX, we can clearly see going on down towards the southern side of Minas, but eventually there is going to be another team that is going to be very close to them as well, and that is going to be a bit of a tricky situation for the side of TP to be able to get out of there. But the circle is going to be completely decimating their opportunities because they are going south, but the circle is up north.
Exactly. And it is going to be a tough pursuit, a tough journey for all the teams. Talk about the humongous amount of teams. A gazillion of teams are actually in the southern side. Talk about MARTYRS, talk about TREX. I mean, this is also a team that really got close in the last match, but 7C's GSM, I mean, they really need to find themselves the Gremlin Storms away from this storm from the area of Puerto Parasio, because it is not going to be an easy task, because when they make a rotation from the left side of Los Leones, they are going to be face the brunt of MARTYRS or obviously LFP. We have to still wait for that, whether learn of past will learn from the past, and they will try to not allow any sort of rotation doing down. But if they try to do from the right hand side, that is going to be the eastern side of Los Leones, there is also some other team, just example for VANGCHUR squads, that is also present, and it is not going to be an easy situation, as Sinner Esports is also in the closer vicinity. If they try to hold the edge of the circle, 7Cs really have to sneak peek and do it in a hurry. But for the moment, no drop contestation whatsoever in the game of Miramar and God's Reborn. I mean, in the last game, I really want to talk about this team. Right off the bat, this team has been a stunner of a performance in the past also, and they really don't fail to impress, and they have justified in the right stage of the game, at the very first stage of the game. I mean, there is just an inch of a thing where you have that, you don't have a lot of, I mean, margin to find yourself in a situation where you can go down, but they were just so strong in the very early stage of the game. It was looking so spectacular from their side, and let's see what sort of performance, what sort of outing do you have for the moment. At the moment, it seems that VANGCHUR squad's VANGCHUR is pretty much close where MARTYR is positioned, and it seems that he can be. Some beautiful visuals have to actually commend the job of those observers where VANGCHUR is actually positioned himself. There is a Rich that can actually save him, but if those utilities are used to perfection, as we have seen in the past, things can really go nasty for themselves, as VANGCHUR is in that nasty position where he can be put down. Edge of the circle is there, but for no use, as he is in the open, and MARTYRS Thor, if he has that hammer, he will dug onto his head.
Well, not a good start for VANGCHUR squad for the moment. It is certainly not confirmed if he will be spotted or not. That is exactly what MARTYRS Epsilon are trying to do. They have been able to accumulate decent amount of loot for them already. Vehicle also working in their favor, whereas on the other tangent for VANGCHUR squad, VSS player, he was all alone with no utility whatsoever at all. Nothing working in his favor apart from that small little ridge and that small little dip in the land and the playing field itself that allowed him to kind of be in a little bit of that cover, and that for the moment has certainly worked in favor of the team, and eventually it is going to be MARTYRS Epsilon who will walk away from that entire saga and of course will not be able to spot that kill. This is something that well, when Thor ends up looking at the game later on, he is not going to be happy about that because they jumped into the same area. So, of course, during jump in the parachute, they knew that there is a player who is going to be right around the corner, should be right around the corner, but they were still not able to find him. And that is, of course, going to be, well, troubling them for a little bit, but that's okay because this is only 4 minutes into the game and there's still a long way to go. Talk about VANGCHUR squad. They are not off to a good start. A 3-man squad that is probably going to be brought down to 2 the way MARTYRS Epsilon are trying to take on the fight. Thankfully, VS is going to be able to get away for now, and MARTYRS Epsilon will not be able to confirm that kill for themselves, but it seems like they want to be going out on the hunt and they're going to be trying to get outside the zone. They're actually doing so. They're getting outside the zone to try and find that team who just left the vicinity of this entire area, and that is, of course, none other than VS.
I mean, yeah, that's maybe the case, but for now it seems that they are going for those rotations where the vehicles can be helpful, and open truck is which they are trying to move, and it's a good option to be on a safer side. 4 different players in 4 different directions. Even if one is taken down, in the worst case scenario, others one will be saved, and in that situation there won't be any sort of unsettlement, and in a lumberjack situation where they will be in a limbo how to and what to retreat in that position, and that position things can really go nasty for themselves. But for the moment, it's the highway with which their players are trying to go towards. And Black Diamond on our TV screens, the last game, they were looking pretty much promising the way they were taking the fight. They were the team that got eliminated, I guess, by TREX Esports along those shores lines. And this time...
Faceoff, yes.
Exactly. And this time, it is going to be, again, the 4 lads pretty much closer to where the circle is actually from. Actually, we can see the blue. That means they are closer and closer to the zone. And 500 meter... it's just the total distance they need to travel. It is going to be the rest of the lobby that is still pretty much strong. But as the customary says, Miramar would be on a slow start. I would say it's a boring start.
Well, that's entirely what ends up happening, especially on the map of Miramar. I mean, not always, though. I mean, it depends on the teams, depends on those squads that are jumping in, and again, those drop locations being contested or not. But eventually, because we have actually been a part of a game on Miramar that resulted in only 21-minute saga, so you just don't know what to anticipate as the game progresses on along. Many times, these teams get caught off guard, and that results in another fight taking place, and based on that fight's audio cue, another team chimes in along. But yeah, in overall essence, Miramar is the largest scale map, and in that, of course, the conversation always ends up becoming a bit of a more slow start for those teams, but that is also going to be working in these teams' favor because it is going to give them that much more of an opportunity to try and get their aggregated loot working in their right favor, and also along with that, the drop locations and those rotations that these teams will have to make also hopefully work in that team's favor. Now, this is a team that we did talk about in the previous game where they walked away with just 1 kill, but 10 placement points, I believe, and that resulted in them having a decent outing for sure. But will that be the same story? Will this team of LFP learn from the past, be bringing in that same sort of a gameplay, or will they be changing it altogether itself, is what I shall be keeping my eyes out to see if that is going to be their playstyle or not. For now, again, as Ankit did mention, it is a slow start for the teams as they try and get themselves acclimated. And moving on along with this entire flow of things, it is another team to bring up the conversation for is going to be Oxygen Rising Star. I mean, that team in the previous game got the loot for themselves. They got to the ridge all by themselves, and then it was just stuck there, and then Faceoff tried to bring them down and eventually were able to do so. And not only that, it seemed like Gremlin was also, I believe, part of that fight as well, and Oxygen were just not able to bring in the kind of onslaught that they should have been able to because of the way that they were approaching into all those fights. But maybe this time around it will be a different conversation. Black Diamond, on the other hand, as we were just mentioning, were caught off guard in the previous game as they made that water rotation, and indeed it was Faceoff that was waiting for them to bring in that fishing moments and resulted in Black Diamond not being able to move on into the game as they perfectly would have wanted to. GS Legends, another team that we did not see a good play from, but as of now, they are just running to get into the comfort of the zone, as the zone is going to be creating a bit of a ruckus for quite a lot of teams. We do see MARTYRS Epsilon also outside the zone for the moment. From the northern side, we can clearly see TREX are going to be making a rotation. TREX have made an interesting rotation. They were down towards the prison island, and from there, they've made a western northern rotation towards La Cabrera, and then going to be jumping into the arena. But will that be enough? Because once again, when it comes to the zone itself, the zone favors nobody, and for the moment it is going to be a tricky affair for a few of these teams as they are trying to get that rotation done right. Which team is going to be caught off guard as that rotation will be made? We shall find out the answer to that question in just a couple of minutes. But right now, it is the first airdrop being dropped. It is going to be the AUG, along with, of course, the level 3 kit. That is a customary.
Exactly, that's a custom as we get to see the red ashes coming out of it. Some beautiful little visions coming out of this game of Miramar as we head towards the 10th minute. Still no sort of a head-to-head collision, still no drop contestation that we saw in the early stage of the game, and still no drop being rotations being cut off as we head towards the 10th more minute. And now this is the time where learn from past, realizing the fact that they are still in the edge of the circle. The circle has gone for a shift. Now they will be cutting off the rotation for sure for Unstoppable. They are in the crosshair. Unstoppable are in the crosshair, but shots are still not being far enough. They are still scouting where their exact positions, how many players are going for rotation from which different direction, and then trying to just strategize their maneuver according to that. It's always great to see all these players just getting stronghold of all these hillocks, if we just talk about those cliffs, and then try to take the fight. But for the moment, it seems that 7C's GSMs might be getting some fights as Sinner Esports Godfather. The name is Godfather, but certainly it needs to be done in its own way, as Gremlin Storm's Ruffat is looking strong at this moment. Bad Rev with some lot of shots, brought on to 60 HP. He is on the red. He needs to find and get in the white as soon as possible, and that will be done once they will be getting the patchwork done. But since Bad Rev is still, oh no, it's done. It's done. So now since GSM knows that there is some team that is in the closer proximity, they can actually suppress them if they want to. But for the moment, since they are holding those that hillock, they are in split situation. Two players completely being split and playing the ridge. This is a good approach for the sides of 7Cs, and they have shown the intent that they won't be taking the fight until unless they are being pushed to do so.
Most certainly, and along with that, there is going to be Sinner Esports to bring in a little bit of sin into this battle arena, and hopefully should be able to do so as well, because that is going to be the thing that we have been waiting for. For now, talk about Gremlin. I mean, they have been able to get themselves on a perfect trajectory into this compound, and from the looks of it, it seems like Gremlin are going to be creating a flank angle as well, where Badrev and Kapshi, we can clearly see are onto a two-man split, and in doing so are giving away a lot of audio cues to the players of Sinner. But eventually, are Sinner going to be retaliating that? Sinner Esports, for now, are just going to be sticking to their track. We do see Sherlock Destroyer, who have one compound to themselves, and on the other side, it is going to be Cops from the side of Sinner, who has been able to get onto a different affair altogether. But in doing so, he has been given a lot of, in fact, damage from the third party. That was not Gremlin, but a completely different squad, and that, of course, is going to be a bit of a tricky affair for the side. But eventually, talk about Gremlin themselves. They are trying to take on a fight as well, on a long fight actually, which is what Miramar is known for every single time when it comes down to bolt actions and those tap shots. That is where, of course, we do see Miramar bring in that sort of an action into play. As of now, second airdrop is what we're looking at, with MK14 being present there for these teams. But will they be able to, well, rather will they be allowed to get that picked up or not? We shall have to see. For now, we do see the team of Archangels trying to get down to get that loot picked up for themselves.
Exactly. As you mentioned, some teams will be getting the hands on that red ashes coming out of the exclusive. It's always great to have in the whole hand, and we'll get to see what sort of weapons that will be offered to them. But for now, it is going to be PXE Sports Chiku with that cheeky gameplay that try to pinch down the players and have made sure that the 7Cs, if they are going for the rotations, they need to make sure that they are pretty much in that position where they don't get a fire. But for the moment, it is all of the other team, and still the fight is not erupting. I'm still waiting, and the wait is still getting long and long, as now Unstoppable have made a push onto PX, but the push is in vain as Arc Sign goes down, and now the players from the backhand side are coming in, but Heaven from that another angle can pull down the players of Unstoppable at any moment. But the first blood from PX Esports Nier has brought down, and now the fight will be getting erupted and it will be exploding as soon as possible. Some grenades are being used, some grenades are being deployed onto the players, but the push that has been made in from the sides of Unstoppable, it seems that they are faltering down slowly and steadily.
This is not looking good for Unstoppable. I mean, they were in control. They should have been in control as they tried to take on this fight and onslaught against the players of PX, but eventually it seems like PX. But no, that's not the case. It seems like Fint has certainly been able to get that nade brought on down to perfection, and it was Heaven who has been brought down to his knees, and eventually that second nade should be able to do the trick and should give Flint the opportunity that he was waiting for, the kill that he was waiting for, and eventually bring that conversation in Unstoppable X's favor. But will it be enough? Unstoppable Esports trying their level best as they push on towards the players of PX Esports. Chico has been brought down. It has now resulted in a 1v3 sort of a situation where it is going to be Hitman, and Hitman has to bring in that domination. For now, it is going to be PX Esports who are trying to just completely annihilate the play, and Winboy is going to be completely moving on along with a lot of health and will certainly be able to give that destructive blow to Unstoppable Esports' final player Hitman, send him back into the lobby, and 3 kills confirmed, but sadly they did lose one player. That was Chico.
Horrible start for Unstoppable again in this match, and the last match also they did falter down, and this game since they have just been outplayed in terms of the push that they did make, they were nowhere in the fight, to be honest, altogether. From the start towards the end, with Hitman surviving, it was never an easy task for him because he was the only man that everything rested upon him. It was these UAs that was being used to get that lead not being shot onto them, but finally they've been taken down. As Oxygen Rising now makes a push, it is going to be not an easy task, as both the player in a single split from the side of Khalid has been spotted down, and not only spotted, has been brought down, and Khalid, it seems that one kill from him, yep, it has been stolen. It has been stolen.
Well, this time around, look at the circle and look at who is in the center. It is going to be none other than Gremlin Storm, and that team is going to be probably dominating from the center of the zone, as they like to do so many times with the two-man split that they like to play with. But again, there are so many teams still remaining, 15 teams remaining as we move on towards the 16-minute marker, 30 seconds before we jump in with another shift of the circle itself, and that is going to be creating a lot of ruckus because there is just so many teams but not that big of an area for them to be able to overcome. On the other tangent, it is going to be GS Legends who have been able to bring a lot of blow to Khalid, who we just saw bring in a spray damage and was able to confirm kills. It is now being resulted onto him itself, the same gameplay, and it is none other than GS Legends who has been able to do so.
Exactly, and getting the taste of its own medicine is something that none of the players in the lobby would love to taste, at least to be at. But for the moment, it is going to be one kill with which the players are moving in Mirado, something which I won't personally like. I won't personally recommend as an advice, as a piece of advice. Keep in your mind, you don't move away. But until unless they are not spotted down, it is a safe passage for them. But it's seemingly less possible for them, as now they will pull down. But TREX, RJ goes down. The mini tap shots are being connected, but from different directions, as RJ has been humiliated for the moment. But it seems that TREX Power are now jumping into action slowly and steadily with 0 kills out to the name. They need to take the fight, but on the backhand side, it is going to be one team, and one team was closer in the proximity, was trying to retaliate and rotate in the moment. But TREX are slowly and steadily finding themselves in the position where they are just not able to they're just being made to suffocate because they are not able to retaliate in fashion, because in the open you don't have a lot of options with not much of utilities. It becomes really tremendously impossible to find yourself away. Some grenades are being used. If this gets connected, it can be a game end.
It most certainly does look like the case, because in terms of TREX, I mean, they certainly find themselves, yep, this GS Legends nade is going to be doing the trick, and thus resulting TREX down to just 2 players remaining on the back-end side. It was, of course, Oxygen Rising Star as well, who we see in the back-end smoke, were trying to bring in a lot of damage as well, and it is none other than Shimantor who was taking in those nade parades towards the side of Oxygen Rising Star, but in doing so has resulted in 2 of his teammates being sent back into the lobby. So not a good start for TREX indeed, but it is going to be GS Legends' question now. Will they be finishing the entire team, or will they be retaliating? No, they will be rotating away from the position to get into the comfort of the zone itself. And now as they try and do so, Black, yep, that is the case indeed, where indeed when you talk about the team, it is Black Diamond who are going to be well equipped and prepped, but they will not be able to confirm a kill for themselves. Before they do so, it is going to be GS Legends who will answer with some amazing sprays and bring the team down.
Some incoming gifts are being coming in. It seems that the players are in that animation, as the grenade did come, but it was pretty much far away from the players that could have actually taken down. But for the moment, it is going to be TT's player that are in rounding out in the open. But the way GS Legends have played till now, I mean, they really actually had a good time till now. Now the grenade was actually got deflected. Just because of that, he finally decided to move on different sort of extreme edge of the compound. The grenade now deployed, and since it has been done, it seems that the players are in that closer proximity. But still, I'm still waiting when this kid, obviously the GS Legends player, will be making a push onto the players of Black Diamonds, as one player has already been eliminated. There was an M249 in his hand, but here Rochi is duly noting every sort of movement from the sides of GS Legends, because there is sort of opening, that small obviously stripe that is not available in that building, and just because of that the smoke has been deployed just in order to get any sort of closer proximity. But for the moment it seems the circle has tended to go away. That means both the needs to make an entry, and it is not going to be easy as 4 players charging onto 3 players. One team will fall down here.
Well, Black Diamond, trying their level best to control the small little cattle field, but eventually will not be allowed to do so, because it is GS Legends who are now absolutely looking really overpowering, trying, because it is Black Diamonds that they're opting, but it is going to be Black Diamonds who have now chimed in along, breaking in Orchid one after the other. He is bringing players down. GS Legends, Omanshu is the man who will have to now retaliate, because he's the only man who's surviving on the other side. Talk about Black Diamond. They are a 2-man squad who are going to be rushing on to the players, and eventually, as they move on to do so, GS Legends players are going to be brought down to their knees, and eventually now it is GS Legends is at the receiving end and will be a finishing blow to GS Legends. They did take a really good fight, but it was Black Diamonds that came up on top and were able to actually get decent amount of kills and decent amount of points for the entirety of the team.
Definitely, but it's not easy to actually, they showed the way that actually how to actually defend your fort being breached, and the way they actually tried to bring them down. Aggression is the only way of defense, and the aggression they did so, and now it is going to be a moment where they need to sadly abandon the last player, bleed out, and themselves finding them in a situation. But on the other side, it is going to be TREX Power, the team that got second in this last match, get eliminated at the 12th spot, where there's not much of a point that they took in terms of kills. But till now, it is going to be 7C's GSM. They are still out of the fight. 1 kill is what I can see from the live ranking standing, and I'm waiting to see when they actually explode. But on the other side, it is going to be PX Esports that can be third party in this situation. Some kills are already lying there, and they can actually take up the fight at this moment, as 7C's BadBlood now deploy some of the slow smokes in order to get that opening invisible, and he can finally get that TP advantage from their side. But Nier is pretty much close to where 7C's BadBlood has actually positioned himself, and that Molotov could have actually hit in his face, but that just overshooted.
Well, this is so very close indeed. When you talk about, of course, Gremlin's player, it is going to be absolutely annihilation that he can bring to the table. Even though his health was so very low, he was able to take the players down one by one, and it is not looking good, because after all, it was Gremlin who was able to get the better half of that fight against the players of BX Esports. Eventually, as the conversation moves on, the fight is not yet done, and Gremlin Storm's Brave is going to try and take on another fight, but as soon as the smoke dissipated, he was caught and he has been knocked.
Definitely, but 2-2 split is what 7C GSMs are playing, with the Rafat on the left hand side and one player also giving the assistance. BadBlood needs the revival for sure. I guess he will be given the revival, but Playzone is also taking care of other players, as 7C Kapchi is now bringing down God's Reborn Cow, as the team that got the better half in the last match are being punished severely, as now it is going to be Black Diamonds, 2 players up against 7C's Rafat and Evilai. Evilai, you have seen in the past the sort of gun gameplay that he brings in. He is enough at least to take the 2 players down, but will that be enough for the whole of the squad? We have to still wait for that, but Black Diamonds have been sandwiched from the backhand side. This time it is going to be VANGCHUR squad, and this is making an easy affair for 7C's to actually survive in the situation. And since the circle has gone away, the 2-2 split needs to be congregated. They need to actually align themselves and then go into the circle, rather take 2 fights simultaneously, because this match is getting really bloody.
It most certainly is. With that, 7 teams remaining, we are 23 minutes in, and talking about the circle itself, Gremlin Storm have 6 kills for themselves, and now of course are going to try and get into the zone, but it is going to be not an easy thing to get a part of. After all, when it comes to the open areas, that is where you can certainly get caught off guard, and learn from the past, certainly making a wonderful approach as they try and get those kills for themselves. 1 kill confirmed for them, but as they did give away that information in the audio queue, and that has resulted in, of course, once again Gremlin Storm getting the better half of that fight. 6 teams remaining. Learn from past, 1 final player who is in a fight against 1 final player of GR for the moment, and he's
Rafat left side. Rafat left hand side, he can take these players down at least, but Kapchi takes down Learn from past players, as BadBlood has also fallen down thanks to the onslaught that came in from Sadaf Tautar. And after pinning down the player, the the quickness with which he is making entry into zone, this shows the teams actually, I mean, this sort of gameplay that they're bringing, this is phenomenally well. But Rafat has already spotted him down, as I just mentioned a moment ago, but he didn't make sure that he is finding himself in the situation where the leads could have been dodged down, rather that McLaren let that bullets come in, and he has been eliminated. And with that, Dodge Reborn have also been eliminated with 8 kills. Badrev, Evelai and Rafat, everyone surviving. It is looking pretty good for 7C GSM.
They most certainly are in control of all the contestation itself. When you talk about the fights that are taken on, we have 5 teams remaining. Indeed, in doing so, Faceoff Esports, 1 final player remaining. Learn from the past, 1 final player remaining. When you talk about VSX now, this is a team that has been a 3-man army but are playing so very passively and are finding themselves in a wonderful turn of events. Run from the past was caught. Of course, it was none other than Gremlin, who was keeping an eye out towards that player, and eventually, as the circle moved away, that player has been sent back into the library. So Learn from the past getting once again points for themselves in terms of course, just the placement. On the other tangent, the fights now are being brought on from the side of Martyrs, and this is a team, Martyrs Epsilon, that has been so very quiet up until now, but as soon as they chimed in, they got Rafat as well as Badrev in just a matter of seconds.
Exactly, and 2 big names already getting eliminated. And with this situation, actually, it is going to be VANGCHUR squad that can sandwich well Kapshi and Evelai in this situation. This is not looking good for the teams, but obviously the players are looking pretty much strong at this moment. If we just talk about the VANGCHUR squad, and still not VANGCHUR squad are just over-aggressing in order to take the kills. They know the players are already in the same vicinity, but still not charging on to them. The players are finding themselves in the open situation where VANGCHUR is using the smoke angle just to block the visions, but Kapshi and Evelai, they are holding the edge of the circle. For long they can, how long they can actually hold the place, this is going to be the one thing that I would love to see upon, as Starboy and RDUL and VANGCHUR are holding their hands upon, but this is not the way you need to make an entry into zone, and just because of that, it is going to be VANGCHUR's player that will be taking the better of them. But Kapshi coming in and gets down Saf. That means Martyrs Epsilon are now under the crosshair of 2 team 1. It is going to be Gremlin Storm, and for the left hand side, it is going to be of VANGCHUR squad. And all of a sudden, where Gremlin Storm was looking to be sandwiched, it is going to be Martyrs Epsilon that can be sandwiched.
Well, again, it was looking like Martyrs might just be able to get this fight broken in their favor, but again, Kapshi not wanting to accept defeat, even though he only has bandages, was moving on along to take on a fight, and still was able to, of course, give a very massive blow to the players of Martyrs Epsilon. In doing so, it has resulted in taking down the player, but eventually Evil Eye will be brought down, and thus resulting, it is a conversation where PS is now going to move in to try and just confirm that kill for themselves, and they will be able to do so, where indeed it was Radul who got that kill confirmed. And now as they try and check their back angle, it is none other than FF, who has also been sent back into the lobby. So BadBlood being sent back with just that 1 kill that was sent for them. Moving on to just 2 teams remaining, Martyrs Epsilon against the 1 final player, that's going to be Starboy.
Exactly, a tough affair for this lad, Starboy. Will it be his star? Will it be his team star? No, is going to be the case, as it is going to be Martyrs Epsilon. Happen for sure.
Most certainly. I mean, this team was looking really neat as they moved on along from one spot to the other. Gremlin played their cards right, but certainly were caught off guard. And of course, in doing so, this is where things go absolute berserk for the side of Martyrs Epsilon. And they were able to accumulate 10 kills for themselves, 2065 damage, getting them 25 points from this game, and they are going to be on the 2nd position on the overall ranking. So a wonderful turn of events for Martyrs Epsilon. At certain moment, it seemed like they were in the process of Gremlin Storm almost being sent back into the lobby, but they held their ground right, and thanks to, of course, VS's approach against Gremlin Storm as well, resulting in Martyrs Epsilon getting a better half of that fight.
Indeed, it was VANGCHUR's squad that really made it tough for GSM to survive in the same vicinity. At some point, it was seeming that both the teams, GSM and VANGCHUR, could have really chimed upon Martyrs Epsilon, the team that got chicken. But in all these predicaments, in all these thicks and thins, it's the call of the IGLs, the sixth sense of the players that comes into favor. In all situations, if you survive the burst, it will be a good time and a middle time if you get the hand on chicken. Chicken is what they get, and a lot of kills was also what we get to see. And a fight that actually erupted in between all those ridges, but down the line, it just got too bloody, and also on the middle hand side, because in the first 14 minutes there was not much of an action, but as soon as the team started pushing upon, they were being retaliated with brute force. You remember that push that came in the early stage of the game. Then it
Yes.
was Black Diamonds that really find themselves in position, and it was looking pretty good at the moment. And it's always looks good when a team take all these fights.
Absolutely does. There's no two ways about it. But when it comes down to the play that was made in this game, it was a different team. It was Gremlin Storm that absolutely took the lobby by surprise from one position to the other. Of course, everything working in their favor based on they were in the center of that zone. But without more conversation, let's move on to the MVP, because the most valuable player, I do believe, should come in from the side of Martyrs. It is going to be Kabir right here, where Martyrs Epsilon did get the chicken, and along with that, teammate Kabir walked away with 4 kills, 798 damage that he was able to dish out with 3 assists as well. So a perfect play, perfect start for side of Martyrs Epsilon, and they are going to be absolutely comfortable with the points.
Just the 69 healing duns, not even 100. That means he wasn't knocked down at least for once, and because of that we get to see that MVP ranking. And not only him, it is going to be Kapshi that really stars in this performing stage, with the Martyrs Epsilon's Thor also coming in, and VANGCHUR squad's Witcher, and a lot of players actually making a way into this entry. But some real good stats coming in with the 4-3-3 kills. I mean, this was bound to happen. 7Cs will be it was preempted. It was preempted. I really saw the future for 7C CSM. I mean, one game that really didn't go into the favor. I mean, it was not for too long that they won't be striking. It was not the chicken, but still a decent point that they took away from this one. We'll get to see how much of total point they have gotten once we get to see the match ranking, but it's the match summary on our TV screens.
Absolutely, and in that conversation, it is Martyrs Epsilon who are just completely reigning here, and it is going to be Kabir from the side of Martyrs Epsilon with the highest kill, the longest distance, as well as the highest damage. Kabir has gotten all 3 of those stats in his favor. As we move on across the board, it is going to be Radul with the most utilities from the side of VS Indeed, and finally Martyrs Epsilon Seth chiming in along with the maximum assists. So Martyrs Epsilon certainly played their game to perfection, resulting in that chicken dinner for themselves. 10 kills is what that team walked away with, but Gremlin Storm also did have 10 kills as they got 10 placement points. 20 in total is what they have, and VS this time around with only 5 kills, but the placement points working in their favor, giving them 17 points in total. So a GG state of affair.
Pretty much understandable, because they were knowing the exact location of players. It was GSM that was in the same proximity, making a lot of noise, because they were taking the fights with a humongous number of team, but still VANGCHUR was just not retaliating onto them and was just not giving any sort of leads onto the face, and just because of that, it was them that got the 12 total placement point. But certainly it was not a game for TREX Power that just got 1 point. Unstoppable also got that early elimination when they made a push against PX Esports and was sent to the lobby, and then it was all easy for Oxygen Rising Stars that was also eliminated. And so not a lot of points that are still shared on second half of the chart, but I guess Sanhok can really bring action, as it is so much preempted, because in this last game also it was not Martyrs Epsilon, it was not VANGCHUR's squad, but some other squad. So I mean, matches are changing, maps are changing, and so the strategies and the teams that are coming up the top, this is also changing.
It will most certainly be changing as well, but along with that, change being the name of the game, let's change to another screen. That is going to be the Oppo F19 Pro moments, and run us through rather these wonderful fights that took place on this wonderful map. Now in here, this is where things should have absolutely favored Unstoppable Esports, the way they made that play and push, but eventually that was not the case, sadly.
Exactly. I mean, you can give a push, but you really need to have a lot of info, and that since he was not having a single info, the team whole, I mean, it's not the he, they, I mean, all the four really didn't have any sort of info. They really tried hard, and then they did fall down. It was then Black Diamonds that was really punishing, and this Rochi's knock was just phenomenally well, because he played it to perfection, and then it was all over for the sides of one team, and that was not looking good. As on the other side, it was Sinners that was doing the third party situation. Gremlin Storm was trying to make an influential gameplay from the western side, where they were having a lot of crosshair aligned with Kapshi, bringing some knocks into the last stage of the game, and then it was FOF that was also pulled down thanks to the onslaught that came in from the sides of VANGCHUR squad, and then it was all done for them as Martyrs Epsilon got that chicken. And with this, we head towards the overall ranking post match 2, where Gremlin Storm Esports 2 matches, 1 chicken, 19 placement, 13 kills, 32 total points, but then it is 26, 26, 25, 23, 19, 18 and 14, so not much of a point difference. That means each and every team are playing in its own way, in its own perfection, as everyone is getting a lot of points. There's not a lot of point difference, just the 6 points, 2 points, 3 points, 1 points, and since it's just the 2 games that have been done, I mean, you don't get to see a lot of point difference.
Most certainly, again, as the day progresses on along, as the games progress on along, this page is going to get that much more ludicrous. But for the moment, of course, it is very much in contestation for all of these teams to be a part of. And of course, that is what the conversation should be after every single game. As we move on to the second page, we do see BadBlood right here on the 9th position with 13 points. And after that, 9th position, we move on to single-digit numbers for the teams that are finding themselves from the 10th to the 16th position. For now, of course, Unstoppable Esports, we saw that push that they tried to create against the players of PX Esports certainly did not favor them, and now they should maybe try and rethink their strategy as to how exactly should they be playing in this lobby. For now, they have been able to accumulate 4 kills, so that is GG play, of course, for them, but that is all. That is not going to work for them. Eventually, they're going to have to start working towards those placement points as well, but nothing taken away from them, because so many teams around them on the 16th position is what they are, but so many teams around them also are so close. So one good game and different things can be taken place. With that, we've got second game done. That means 2 more games remain. We've reached kind of like the intermission of the PMCO 2021 day number 1, and that result is now going to be showcased, well, to the teams as to what can they expect from the lobby. First 2 games, they try and see each other and their playstyle, and now is when the all-out war will hopefully be brought, because after all, from certain teams, that war is being brought every single game. I mean, we saw Gremlin Storm walk away with 10 kills. First game, another annihilating play was showcased from GR Esports. So as the story progresses, as the day progresses on towards from one match to the other, hopefully another team will be the one that will reign in a champion for this third game. But before we jump into the third game, we're going to go on a short little break. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the sea? Kicking up
go now.
Open. This is, of course, the Bangladesh region, and day number 1 is where things have started off. 2 games are already done. Third game is where we'll be jumping into, and for the moment, it is looking like a bonker start for these teams. But eventually, as we jump into this quick map of Sanhok, things probably are going to get that much more heated up, Ankit.
Definitely, and when we head towards the map of Sanhok, the quickness that it brings in, because the smallest map in terms of the size that we get to see, in terms of the gameplay we get to see, it is going to be TREX Power, the team that got the not the chicken, obviously, the second position in the very first game, got eliminated in the second game of Miramar, and it was a sad state of affairs, as you say. And they must be seeing to look and make a comeback, as the players are now slowly and steadily moving towards the players. And it seems that it is going to be VANGCHUR's squad that will be first of all getting things into its own action. But Paradise Resort, I guess it's where the fight may erupt, where we get to see it is Faceoff versus Gremlin Storm. Obviously, that is going into its own way, but it seems that GR's players are completely in different split situation. From Paradise to Cow, God's Reborn. I mean, yep, it is okay to have a split, but in the 2 big cities, it is not looking good for them, as it seems that now Cow is getting closer and closer, where the Totter and other players are actually positioned, and Unstoppable is also on a different split situation. So one thing is common: each and every team that we have seen in the past, if they drop down towards that Mongnai, they have that license, I would say, that go for a split.
That is true. That is something that we've seen again and again from so many of these teams. But this time around, it seems like one team did not join the lobby, and that is going to be the team of Learn From Past, from the looks of it, as I'm not able to spot that team on the map. And it is, well, again, I mean, the previous 2 games, they worked towards placement points. Third game, they not able to participate. Not the kind of start that, of course, can be expected from Learn From Past, but hopefully things will change as they progress on along. And with that story change, right? With that story change, another thing that has happened in favor of VS is the fact that their 4th player has finally joined in. So a different strat is what a different story is what is being showcased from this entire Group A and B in this 3rd game of the day. And as we talk about the circle itself, so many teams do find themselves in the comfort of the zone. And in that conversation, talk on towards the northern side, it is going to be Unstoppable Esports, who have themselves on a really interesting flank angle. All 4 players covering a humongous area all by themselves. So a lot of opportunity for them to be able to get a lot of loot. Also, a lot of opportunity for the other teams to take on those kills. Talking about the Paradise Resort itself, we are looking at Faceoff Esports that have taken Paradise Resort control all to themselves. There's absolutely no team that will be contesting that area. So again, when it comes down to the drop locations itself, it seems like a lot of these teams are comfortable with the southern drops, and we can clearly see that so many teams from the side are down towards the southern side of the map, and that is perhaps where we can anticipate a few early knocks to be brought on along. As of now, there does not seem to be any first blood that has been drawn.
Yeah, and the customs that we get to see in the Sanhok, that shows that you need to get in the right of the match. And since it is not the case that we are not getting to see a lot of kills, a lot of points early stage of the game, that maybe the players might be going for the slow approach for the moment. And as soon as that happens, it is gonna be Oxygen Rising Star getting a lot of shots from the top mountain, that hillock, and it is obviously gonna be one team, GS Legends, that are making them pay for that wrong rotation, for that carelessness. And whenever you are careless in this game of Sanhok, you will be punished for sure, as Oxygen's player will be bleeding up slowly and steadily. It's Zadu that is pretty much close towards him, but he can only be a mere spectator.
Well. So such a clever man right here, as we can see, Himanshu, who was waiting that if at all his teammate would come to give that revival eventually, as they decided that there was no other player who's going to be coming in to revive that boy. He's going to be taken down, and GS Legends are going to move on along to try and get this fight working in their favor. And what a perfect spray that was from Yadu. Just absolutely smacker of a play indeed, and has been able to knock down one player. And in doing so, of course, their own teammate is down as well, and this is not looking too good for the side of Oxygen indeed. And as they start off, the rising stars of the lobby have been pretty much brought down to their knees, and one by one are being chipped down and prepared pretty much in the first 5 minutes itself to be brought down to a single man squad. So GS Legends certainly playing their cards right and have been able to decimate and bring 2 kills for themselves in the first 5 minutes of the game. And now, of course, as we can clearly see, not a lot of utilities have been picked up from these lads, so they're going to have to probably focus on that for the moment, and eventually that is what we can expect from them to do so.
Look at those tires. That is mammoth. I mean, that will eventually help the course of this game and to travel, because it's the grass and you really need those white tires to actually cut off those grass and not let that grass actually hold the tires. And speed is one thing that bike will eventually be offering them. But for now, the airdrop one, the mesmeric scene from this tropical rainforest of Sanhok is on its way with MK14. I mean, this is a gun that can be used in a two-way. Obviously, the tap shots, if get connected with 8x or 6x, eventually can help you amount to a lot of damage, because if you get to a head, eventually if you're not wearing a helmet, 2 shots I guess will be enough to take them down, I guess, in terms of that. But eventually if you get those extended, 20 bullets will be enough to at least take 2 down if you get those shots connected well. And if you get more shots connected precisely way, 3 is gonna be enough. For the moment it is FOF BadBlood. Players are slowly and steadily moving in, and Oxygen Rising Star, one more preempted fight with Jean tipping the TPV angle. Does he know that one player is pretty much close to where he's hiding at the moment, and it seems that he is stuck in a situation and he tried to take 1v1 fight, but eventually faltered down. And not only he will falter, rather the whole team will be faltering down. As you mentioned that it is one team that has not joined the lobby, and since one has been eliminated, that means 15 gets reduced to 14. And the start that we all expect, the all fans expect, and the players to expect, is what we are getting from this tropical rainforest.
Most certainly is the cause, and this time around when it comes to the game itself, it is off to a smacker of a start where a lot of fights are being taken on, and this is going to be MARTYRS EPSILONes control now, as they did hear that small little skirmish between Oxygen Rising Star's final player against the players of BadBlood. Eventually Kabir and Saif and the rest of them are going to be moving on along from top of that ridge to take that fight to the face of course BadBlood indeed. But will that be enough is the conversation. As of now, of course, they are going to be holding their ground, will not be trying to get any more movement because they do not want to be giving any audio cues. But BadBlood, from the looks of it, also do know exactly what to expect with their vicinity. They are being very, very careful with that compound that they are in. But eventually Martyrs, they might just be able to take this fight, because it is looking like they are certainly going to be moving on in just a few more minutes time. Of course, it is going to be just a matter of minutes before this turns into a skirmish from the side of Martyrs Esports, but it is also going to be the safety of the compound that might just favor BadBlood. We shall have to see.
I guess Kabir is the X factor that every time MARTYRS EPSILONes takes the fight. In the last game also, it was Kabir that got the MVP. This time also, he is holding the charge, because the rest of the players have been separated from them and they are creating some different sort of angles, but he is not eventually separating from his pack, as he gets one more player on the backhand side, as we get to see Rep from another angle trying to suppress. It is DT, the team and the squad. That means both the teams are getting all the infos right, and once they find themselves in the most susceptible position, since they are getting pretty much close with them, open the fire, take up the knock, and there we go. One player already down. It is gonna be twice, boot twice, that can be taken down. Survive sliver of an HP thanks to that last shots that he did miss, but he will also be fought down as Thor brings that hammer onto his chest, onto his head, and skull cracks hit. And with that, one kill getting secured. Will that second kill be get secured? We have to wait for that, as Stranger is pretty much close to where other players are hiding, but they need to make sure that is going to be VANGCHUR that is also hearing all these shots, and in all these shots it can be a third party situation, but we are still away from it as the fight is averted, as the players from the sides of TT are bleeding off slowly and steadily, with Creator going down and Boot twice also being eliminated. It's a 3 kill with which MARTYRS EPSILONes will be reigning supreme throughout this match.
You have to commend this team's approach. I mean, one compound, of course, they found, that was, of course, Repo right here, who was able to just look onto the team of Archangels and just dominated them with those sprays and burst damage. And on the other tangent, we did see his teammates, who were very well equipped to take on the fight to the players of course, FOF, and have done so perfectly as well. So eventually, the team of MARTYRS EPSILONes are taking 2 individual fights in 2 individual compounds and are certainly converting it into a fight and a point for themselves, which is looking absolutely phenomenal for their side. As of now, of course, it is going to be the final player of an Archangels who are going to just completely get away from that situation and try and keep him surviving for as long as he possibly can. And in doing so, MARTYRS EPSILONes, Rip, right now looking absolutely in control of the situation. But alongside that, the final player, Saint Ranger, is the man who is now going to be out in the open and can very well be caught off guard as he's making that rotation away from MARTYRS Epsilon. He does not know that there was another team right next to this compound that was his, and that was none other than FOF's players. And that is where things can get really tricky, where he's just a one-man army, but they are a two-man squad. And if he thinks that he's gotten away from MARTYRS Epsilon, well, that is okay. But this is Sanhok, and Sanhok is known for those third-party arena situations, and that is something that Stranger can very well find himself as he tries to get away from the situation. But that is not going to be the case. As Kabir tries to move on to take that information, it is going to be his teammates who help him from the back and will be confirming a perfect knock and a kill, thus a squad wipe, sadly, for an Archangels.
Exactly, TT Archangels getting a better part of what MARTYRS trying to do so, but now it is going to be FOF's onslaught that is coming in, and MARTYRS Epsilon are completely 110% ready for that, and the way they are moving slowly and steadily, they are taking the TPP. Yep, they already know where the exact position, and since they know it, it's just the players that they don't need to over-aggress. Since it is the circle blues that they are facing the brunt of it, it's just that second circle, but they need to move at this moment for sure. But Rep is making sure that he is going closer and closer where Abid is actually positioned, and if Abid spots him down, he can take down as for sure as Abid takes the fight, but he will fall down as sure as Rep is coming in slowly and steadily with Divider taking the fight his own way. It is going to be Kabir that has faltered down with two players surviving, Thor and Rep going slowly and steadily onto the FOF's last player that is standing under the bridge, and he will be taken care of as he takes out, will be taken care of, and yep, there we go. 4 crates, 3 crates will be available there. They will be giving the revival, and then they will be getting the loot segregated, and a huge amount of raw materials is what they need to do. And once they do get to so 430 meters is what they need to travel, it will be an easy journey for them.
Absolutely, there's a vehicle waiting for them right besides the place that they are at, so that is going to be no problem whatsoever at all. But along with that, I mean, talk about a play. MARTYRS Esports have been able to convert those two squads into absolute decimation and been able to get 6 kills for themselves. So a perfect start to the side of MARTYRS Epsilon, but eventually as the game progresses on along, that's just the start of the play. In the center of the zone, which has just shifted, we still do see Gremlin Storm finding themselves very close to the players of Sinners. Now Sinners Esports are going to be, of course, the team that will try and retaliate against the push from Gremlin, but will it matter? Will it work? It is something that we shall have to wait for. As of now, we move on down towards the 4-man army finally of VANGCHUR squad, and they are trying to slowly but surely progress on along into the zone. They're 770 meters away for now, but eventually, of course, as they make that rotation, they are making a very fanned out approach to get inside the zone.
Increasing. The distance is completely increasing. It was 766, it's now 800 plus, and slowly and steadily they are making sure that they won't be peppered and hounded by all these players that are already waiting for them, because they know it is going to be GS Legends that would have waited for them. As soon as that happens, it is going to be the MG3 light machine guns with complete level 3 kit into its making its way, and it seems that it is going to be the Paradise Resort where the Paradise has come into the lap, and with this it is going to be Rufford that has taken a lot of shots, and he has been eliminated thanks to that onslaught that is coming in from the side of God's Reborn, and Cow has actually got 1 kill in its favor, and MARTYRS 1971 is also looking to come into the fight. So finally the banter is not stopping. It was Erangel that banter started happening with God's Reborn and 7C's GSM. This time it is, since the player is finished, the players that have finished and the players that have received the onslaught and the other side of that onslaught knows that it is God's Reborn that has pinned down the players of 7Cs. But on the other hand side, it is going to be TREX Power with no kill whatsoever till now. The last game was surely an debacle for them because they got eliminated at the early stage of the game. It was the teams like MARTYRS Epsilon that is still chiming in, and teams like 7C's GSM that have still performed to its perfection. I guess it is going to be TREX Power that holding this compound, and they might face the challenge that one team is coming in from the northwestern side, and that is going to be of MARTYRS 1971, but still the players are not over-aggressing, nor from the sides of TREX Power.
Absolutely. For now, they find themselves in a bit of a stalemate situation, but the comfort is the fact that they are in the zone, and that is something that they can very well wait and not really have to move away from, as they are kind of comfortable, but not really there yet, because MARTYRS 1971, they need points. They need those kill points, they need those placement points, and that is something that hopefully this game will be allowing them to do so. On the other tangent, talking about the Paradise itself, we do have PX Esports, along with which we also do have Faceoff Esports. So Faceoff Esports are going to be inside, and it is going to be PX Esports on the outside as they try and create a zone to get into and a tunnel to try and get into a funnel that they can try and get a perfect spray and a perfect burst damage. But PX Esports, it's not going to be easy, because talk about Faceoff's perfect approach on towards this entire area. They have their man spread out. It is going to be Meliodas who is going to be all away to the tangent on to the other side. But altogether, as you come on down, it is Martyrs 1971 who have taken that first onslaught towards the players of TREX, and TREX have already taken that one knock. Of course, teammates are there to be able to give that revival, but now the information has been given away, and now the final push and fight will get initiated. But as Martyrs 1971 try and get themselves prepped, it is going to be none other than Martyrs Epsilon that will stop them in their tracks. And this is where Martyrs 1971 once again are being caught off guard out of the open.
Exactly, but T-Rex Power are making sure that they are not only making Epsilon stop in its own course and its own journey. It is going to be the Epsilon that will be getting a lot of shots. Rock Whoopi has exactly spotted down the two players' exact positioning. It's just the width of the tree trunk that is just waiting and not letting the bullets get onto its own player side. But as soon as that happens, it is going to be an easy task for all these players to have its own way. But Martyrs 1971, they are making sure that it is going to be the 170 meters what they need to travel. But some smokes are being used to its perfection, as now Martyrs 1971 clearing the back. They might be go into the zone, but it is going to be a tough challenge for them, because it's still 12 team alive. It's still 12 team alive. We are heading to the 17th minute of this game, as now Repent and Serpent are making things sure, as Saf is being hounded down by a grenade. That was pretty much close, but still not enough to take him down, as he was brought down to 60 HP. Not exact 60, it was 50, but for sure he has been dealt with a lot of damage.
I mean, talk about storyline, right? We saw Martyrs 1971 take on the players of course, TREX, and then came Martyrs Epsilon from the back end side to try and give a bit of a burst damage to the players of Martyrs 1971. But in that conversation, TREX chimed in, and TREX were like, hey, it was our fight, what are you doing here? And Martyrs Epsilon were shown their card and were sent back. But eventually, in all of that conversation, the zone is what has caught up to them, and now it is going to be all the teams trying to get into the comfort of the zone. As we saw the other teams trying to get into comfort, it is going to be Faceoff who seems to have actually caught. Well, this is not good. This is not good. Gremlin Storm, this team again and again has tried to dominate, but this time around they seem to be in a bit of a contestation of their own against the players of Faceoff, and it is going to be none other than Faceoff's player who will be caught off guard, and Badrev chiming into the action, taking the players of Faceoff in a beautiful, beautiful spray. But again, they are both outside the zone, 200 meters outside the zone, and Faceoff are looking really good as they take on one by one. It is just annihilation that is being showcased to the players of Gremlin Storm with just a one-man squad that is left, and that's going to be Badrev.
Exactly. Badrev was the one that got the Grenadier title in its own name, its own fame, but for the moment, it's the two player that needs the revival. Will he be able to get the revival or not? That's the thing that we need to ask for. But on the other side, it's going to be PX Esports that are facing a brunt from Unstoppable, and they need to stop this onslaught that is coming in on the other hand side. It is going to be one team that is completely pinned behind that rock, and that is going to be of Martyrs, and this is not looking good as they need to make an entry to the zone. But it is going to be Martyrs Epsilon that they need to make an entry, and that is going to be 150 meter. And once they find themselves in the open situation, it is going to be 1971, that Martyrs 1971 that they will be pinning. But for the moment, it is them that have become the fish, and they know how to lay the trap. But Unstoppable are also looking pretty much unstoppable, as Badrev now tries to retaliate onto GSM Legends, as now the players are falling on slowly and steadily. But Legends are also facing a brunt of this damage, as PX Esports gets eliminated at the very 12th spot. In all these situations, a lot of ruckus has already been created. Fourth zone with 19 minutes into play. It's still 35 players alive and 11 teams into the fray, with VANGCHUR squads making headway slowly and steadily. It is gonna be 1v1 affair, but he will falter down as the players are slowly, steadily going down, with Riddle surviving a slither of an HP. Two players are still left on their side. Unstoppable ES looking strong at this moment. They are perfectly gatekeeping for VANGCHUR squad. If VANGCHURs need to make an entry into zone, they really need to find an alternative. They really need to find an alternative. If they don't, they will be perishing soon.
They most certainly are, and in that conversation, it is going to be none other than Unstoppable X who are going to be trying to gatekeep VS's position. Indeed, in doing so, they have been able to get Raul down onto his knees and sent back into the lobby. One more player from the side of VS has already been brought down to his knees, and thus resulting is only Tanveer, and Tanveer is also being onslaughted based on the nade parade being brought on from Unstoppable. But as they try to do that, they themselves have now a conversation to have with the players of GR, and in doing so, it is none other than GR Esports who will get the better half of that fight.
Sad.
It is very sad. Unstoppable
Sad.
made a lot of noise, and of course, they got punished for it.
They was pretty close. It was just 15 meters apart. They were just too careless, I would say, because sound is bound to happen. It's bound to happen in all these fights because they were not making sure that they have checked their bat. And it was also God's Reborn that got surprised because at the end moment they eliminated Unstoppable. With this, we head towards the 9th team. We are still waiting to the players to get eliminated. With Unstoppable getting eliminated, we are down to the 9th team as God's Reborn already getting a lot of shots thanks to the Sinners Esports player that are peppering down the bullets onto them. And it is them that is holding the ridge. Rather, it is Sinner Esports finding themselves in the compound with some players being knocked down. Godfather needs the revival at its best.
Well, talk about luck. I mean, VS were facing their demise thanks to, of course, Unstoppable Esports. But eventually, as GR jumped into the arena, it is going to be VS who will be able to maintain that position for just a few more minutes as they try and take that perfect positioning. It is going to be Sinner Esports, as you perfectly mentioned, that will try and gatekeep that entire situation against the players of GR Esports. In doing so, it is looking like a perfect onslaught that Tomato is creating. And in doing that, well, VS has been caught and he has been sent back in the lobby. With that, it is going to be 7 teams remaining, 20 minutes in, and all of these teams that we are looking at, all these teams that are trying to gatekeep, none of them are in the comfort of the zone.
Exactly, not even Sinner, because the compound that they were having safe haven, the fortified area is now unfortunately out of these zones. But I would really want to see which team are getting the favor of the zone, because you can still see there are 5 teams alive in the lobby. Some teams are on the bridge, and it seems that it's the only team that is holding the bridge is getting the most of the circle. But GR Esports, God's Reborn, they are reborning themselves up with the revival that coming in, and 8 kill is what they are standing at the moment. They're just no stopping for GR Esports. Beat Erangel, it was Miramar, and now the third time it's going to be Sanhok, as now Black Diamonds is taking the fight. One player is already knocked down thanks to the onslaught that came in from side of GR Esports, but GR Esports are taking multiple fight. They know the exact positions, they know where the players are actually positioned, and they not only are knowing it, they are not only seeing it, but rather retaliating it onto the players.
Exactly, they're using that information and bringing it the lead, the burst damage that is going to be required from their side, and in doing so, that has perfectly resulted in this team bringing in that annihilating play. And along with that, talk about TREX. I mean, TREX jumped into the arena against Sinner and have now slowly and steadily brought them down to their knees, but Sinner are not yet done, as Sinners are going to move on along. Godfather is the one who has the entire conversation in this fight, and the perfect sprays that is being showcased from the side of this team has annihilated the play for the side of TREX, and now we are down to 4 teams remaining. A perfect spray control is being showcased from Black Diamond. They are onto this bridge, but the circle has been the biggest curveball in this entire game.
Exactly. I mean, how often do we get to see these circles, these rocks, and a piece of land, every sort of thing, every sort of ecosystem in this game of Sanhok, as we get to see the last game of Sanhok for the day, as we are heading towards and inching towards the last part of this Sanhok with Black Diamond pinning on the players of Sinners. It is still not looking good for Sinners to find themselves in that situation, but the best part for Black Diamonds is that even if they get the knock is already there. The best part, as I was talking about, is that they are holding the circle. As long as circle is their friend, they will be cherishing, they will be mating, and they will be participating for sure. But it is the God's Reborn player that is pretty much in the same situation, as we get to see a lot of Black Diamonds player in the situation, but the players have not seen been given the revival. But with this, Sketch is still holding passively, but from that side he will be backstabbed. He made sure that he doesn't give any sort of sound cues, and just because of that, now Sketch eliminates one more player. One more careless approach, I would say, from Black Diamonds. They should have at least checked their back, should have, just for once.
Well, again, now this is an interesting play that is being showcased. We still, of course, have 3 teams remaining, but as Sketch took that fight, he has given away the information to Black Diamond themselves, and Black Diamond is a 3-man strong army, and they're just bringing in those nades one after the other. Thankfully, the first nade connected, but after that, the 2 next have certainly not been able to give that sort of a damage that is required. On the other tangent, talk about another team that's going to be, of course, Sinner Tomato. He is just being so very quiet in the water. He's not moving on along, but of course, Black Diamond know exactly where that player is, and they are just waiting, and as they do so, he has been brought down to the knees. Thus remaining is going to be a 2-team squad, and this is where Black Diamond can very well just jump in to take on this onslaught to, of course, GR's final player. That's going to be Sketch. They are a 3-man squad, and they're, of course, going to be pushing. There's no 2 ways about it. Sketch has only a few more moments to remain, but the play that was made from the side of GR, it was dominating. It was absolutely dominating, resulting in, of course, Black Diamond getting a chicken dinner, but GR's final player was just not wanting to get down. He walked away with a lot of kills. The entire team actually walked away with a lot of kills, but the chicken dinner certainly goes down to Black Diamond, and their positioning. 8 kills, 1,256 damage that they were able to dish out, brings them onto the 3rd spot in the overall ranking.
And that's how Chicken helps you. Not on the top, but still on the 3rd position. I guess they were not on the top 8 or maybe down where you get to see the bottom teams actually aligning. And one Chicken is how that actually helps you. 23 total points, 1256 damage, 8 kill is where Black Diamond stands at this moment. And that's the storyline from the middle, that Sanhok has been completely conquered by Black Diamonds with God's Reborn. Again, that consistency that the team is still featuring upon. They were on the top. I guess these at least 12 placement points that Sketch brought them closer and closer towards them. Eventually, it was not an easy affair. It's never an easy affair to go down to 1v3 situation. He tried really hard. He brought down one more kill, if you remember that backstab situation with the Thompson, but finally faltered down. But I mean, kudos to the last player surviving. I mean, in these situations, it's really tough to hold on your nerves. It's really tough to actually stop that adrenaline gushing upon, because you spot down the players, but it's not the right moment to actually strike the blow. And when he found the right moment, he struck the blow, and then it was an all easy to get the 12 total placement point. But what a match for Black Diamond, straight onto 3rd position.
Well, with that, let's move on and have a look at the MVP coming in from this game, the most valuable player, and that is going to be none other than Black Diamond's 1v4. And this dude has been creating a lot of ruckus in this lobby with 3 kills that he was able to attain and a damage of 669. So again, this team, this time around, again, look at the assists, right? 6 assists is what this dude did. 1v4, a perfect name for him, because that is the kind of play that is expected from that sort of a performance. It is going to be absolutely clear that why is he the MVP.
He has completely full the bar for assist. I mean, one more and that could have completely flown away from which is expected to be. Maybe closing and cutting across that small little gap that is still now at the bar is completely filled, and we don't get to see more often that the assist gets more. I guess in the day we have seen as much as 4 assists in the day. It is 2 more than that. That means that showed that the prowess, that the dependency that the team brings to this player. And with this, we head towards the top player, where Black Diamond's 1v4 is already there with 3 kills, 669 damage. I was survival time of a decent one, but this was a fast and a quick-paced match, brother.
Absolutely, I 100% would. I mean, there were certain moments that I absolutely did adore. I mean, you talk about MARTYRS Esports going up against TREX, and then MARTYRS Epsilon chiming in along, and then it was MARTYRS Epsilon that was MARTYRS that was gatekept by MARTYRS Epsilon. And on the other tangent, talk about another fight there, Faceoff Esports off the blue took down Gremlin Esports, and that again was unexpected, but a GG play. So many different moments that were showcased. But with that, moving on with the match summary, we do have Toto right here from GR, who was just absolutely decimating with 4 highest kills. And as the progression moves on, this has been a decent play for, especially on Sanhok, of course, this has been a decent play for Black Diamond, where we can clearly see that 1v4 got the maximum assist, 1v4 got the highest damage, and Jigsaw, their teammate, of course, got the 272 longest distance kill as well. So a perfect approach being showcased from this team, Black Diamonds. And the circle also, just absolutely wonderful circle. Not many times have we actually been a part of that sort of a circle, but it was something unique and something different, and that's good, because that's how PMCO is, always unique and different.
Definitely. I mean, the curveball straight off the bat, the 3 games, the 3 different sort of circles, and the last circle was just haywire. It was terrible in terms of the gameplay for the players, but not. We love all these chaos happening as we head towards the match ranking, where Black Diamonds get 8 total kills, 15 total placement points, and that brings them closer and closer towards a total 23 points, and that's the exactness with which they bring. But obviously, God's Reborn Esports, 22 total points. Again, a consistent performance, and I guess this is where they will be flying off with lot of leads. So GR Esports have been consistent throughout the day. Beat Erangel, Sanhok, and Miramar, and this time also with the MARTYRS Epsilon also getting 1 more consistent points, but not for MARTYRS Narty 71, just a 2 total points. FOF BadBlood, we saw in the early stage of the game they were pulled down, and PXC Esports again, last time it was them that really survived that onslaught that came in from Unstoppable. This time it was a different team, but the approach was not the same. With Oxygen Rising Star, if you remember, they were being pulled down in the early stage of the game by one team, I guess. Okay, so there was one team in the same situation, but PTs was also in the safe frame that got eliminated, and some teams really did miss up the mark with 0-0 point that they actually take up from this game.
Absolutely, but of course the storyboard, before we move on to the storyboard where we shall see where these teams have landed themselves, like for the likes of Oxygen Rising and of course Archangels, we would like to let's go through the of course Oppo F19 Pro moments, and that is going to be showcasing all the wonderful moments that took place in this entire saga. And this is where GS Legends just completely chimed in along and brought on the players of Oxygen Esports, and just not the kind of play that we were anticipating for the side of Oxygen Esports. But again, as Oxygen Rising Storm moves on along, hopefully things will change in terms of their play, but this time around certainly was not the case.
Indeed it is, and all these memories bring to all the audience, and also for us, if you have just missed any sort of actions that could have been a bonker, that could have been an unbelievable, and these running sprays really fantasizing me, the control that the players bring in, be it any sort of sprays and those AKMs being used in the closer proximity. It's always fascinating to see, and the players going down slowly and steadily. With Sinner Esports using those units to perfection, then Black Diamond pinning down the players, not only the one that was in the closer proximity, and this was the moment I was talking about, with Sketch bringing one more kill, one more knock into his title under his belt, and this was looking strong. Then it was three big giant bouncing upon him. It's never too easy, but he brought down the team closer towards where the team actually is still looking pretty much comfortable. 54 point is what they are standing at the moment, with 3 total matches being played. 23 total kills is what the number stands for them, with MARTYRS EPSILONes also one decent performance, Black Diamond 37, so not a lot of difference between them and Gremlin Storms, that is on the 5th position. But then there is a drop of 6 point, and then I guess it is a drop of 8 point, but not fast, because they didn't play this match. As you perfectly mentioned, we get to see it's just the 2 matches, rather it should have been 3.
Absolutely. I mean, Learn from the Past did not chime in for this game, but the first page is for now. It's certainly creating a lot of chaos, but there are still opportunities that these teams should be able to, well, certainly take into their favor and try and get as many points as they possibly can, because we still have one more game remaining for the day. But before we talk about that, let's have a look at the second page of the overall ranking, where on the 9th spot we see Sinner Esports with 17 points, BadBlood with 14, GS Legends with 11. So again, I mean, all of these teams, they still have the opportunity all the way down to the 16th. They all have the opportunity to be able to rise up. Just one good game is what they need, and well, what do you know? We still do have one final game on Erangel left, so there still can be possibilities for these teams to showcase the kind of play that we are hoping for, especially when it comes to the second page of this leaderboard. But again, I mean, this was a good game.
Exactly.
The Sanhok was a really good game. Quite a lot of entertainment, quite a lot of action, quite a lot of rivalries being created amongst these individual teams, and that has resulted in, of course, well, what can you say, in the third game coming to an end. That means we've got only one more game remaining. But GG, a beautiful turn of events is what I'm saying. Then it comes down to the entire fights that have been showcased from first game to the next, and now we're left with one final game for the day. But of course, before we can jump into that game, we are going to have to go on a short little break. Stick around, we're going to be right back.
Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the sea? Kicking up the dust.
Hello and welcome to PUBG Mobile Club Open Bangladesh region. This is the 2021 PMCO and indeed this is day number 1 where things are off to an incredible start, of course. But now we jump on down to the final game, the 4th game that will be, of course, on the map of Erangel. The day started off on Erangel, Ankit, and that is when we saw some incredible plays being showcased from these teams. But now the lobby knows who they're up against, right? So do you think we should anticipate a bit more of a synergistic play for all the teams?
I guess we already saw a passive gameplay in the game of Erangel.
Yep.
Apart from that random shift that eventually pressed on all the teams, but rather till now we haven't seen a lot of drop clashes. The teams on paper that have been going down towards the area of Nova Rupnai, see the amount of cushion, the amount of safety that they have taken. Since I guess maybe GSM was expecting somewhere to go there.
Right.
All of a sudden they have jumped towards the area of Nova Rupnai. In this last game also, it was a Camp Alpha where I guess some Black Diamonds jumped up where they used to go towards Cave and Dock. So a lot of strategies being maneuvered earlier in the stage of game from their side just in order to not let any casualty be done in the early stage of the game. Since all the 4 games have been placed on the safest bet, I would 3 games, sorry, because 4th game is yet to be revealed.
Right.
The last game will also be, I guess, maybe on a passive approach, or because at the end of the day, it's just the first day. So,
well, let's find out. Let's find out. Let's jump into the 4th game on Erangel, of course, and have a look at the flight path that is going to be taking us through this final game of the day. We, of course, do have GR on our screens, and that team has been reigning supreme in this entire lobby. But will that be the same case as we get started off? The flight path is going to be going from the military base northwest towards the side of almost shooting range Zarki, and that is, of course, going to be allowing a lot of teams that do love to go on down towards the Georgia Pole region, and of course the Gutka and well, again, all the places towards the western front are available for GR Esports. We've seen them go down towards Gutka. We talk about, of course, the play that can be made this time around on the military base itself. We are looking at Black Diamond going down towards the military base. An interesting play being showcased from this team, and alongside them it is going to be, from the looks of it, TREX Power, as well as another team that is well being covered up by TREX Power's name by right now, but along very, very close is going to be their drop, because they seem to be going down towards the Milta, and that is something where we can genuinely expect some early skirmishes to start taking place. But as of now, as these teams get themselves going on towards their known drop locations, towards their comfortable drop locations, we do have Martyrs finding themselves towards the Ferry Pier, and along with that, Martyrs Epsilon going to be up top from the Ferry Pier region, and above them it is going to be none other than Gremlin Storm. So a decent play indeed for these teams, and along with that, talk about early skirmishes. It is none other than the team of TREX Power that are going to be taking on the gods that are going to be GR.
Exactly, God's Ribbon straight off the bat onto this onslaughter, but on the receiving end, thanks to the onslaught that has initially been erupted. I was thinking that maybe the fight cannot and wouldn't go, but so is not the case, as the player is taking its own way, as the GS legend Oman Noosh has been completely sent to the lobby thanks to that onslaught that has came in from Unstoppables Hitman. And it seemed that after settling, I guess, since this flight path was completely on an EVS side, that just allowed the teams to go to the favorite drop spot, and in doing so, most of the team, at least 4, I guess, because it was also God's Reborn pretty much close towards where TREX Power are actually positioned, and then it was with the 2 teams that we just saw in the skirmish standing in that kill feed, and just because of that, it was the first blood that has come in the early stage of the game. That may hound them in the very early stage of the game, as they must be banging their head on the wall, as slowly and steadily now TREX Power are looking strong at the moment, with Shimantor having that AKM in his own hand. He can do wonders, as we have seen in the past. That gameplay, that aggressive gameplay that TREX Power also brings in with the synergistic, they really need to tune well, because it is going to be God's Reborn, the team that has been consistent throughout the day, the team that got 1 chicken, 1 second finish, and 1 where they got eliminated at 4th spot. They really need to play their cards well, else it won't be long when they will be pincered down. It won't be long when they will be started to being hounded down by these players that are in the closer vicinity. Milta is where God's Reborn are positioned at the moment, with the TREX Power just finding their buggies and all vehicles getting collected just to make a rotation. It seems that the players won't be taking the fight. The players are retreating, and an early good decision, because you don't look to take the fight in the early stage of the game. Even if you have a lot of loots, you need not to take, because the only objective is to get lot of points, because at the end of the day, top 16 will be qualifying.
Well, again, this is not going to be an easy affair, of course. And in that conversation, when it comes to the top 16, of course, since we also have invited teams, thus making it that much more difficult because only 11 teams will be allowed to move on because, as I just said, teams have been invited as well. So 5 teams invited, that means that much less of an opportunity for the entirety of these teams. But that'll be a conversation that we'll have during the finals. As of now, of course, in the semis, it is a conversation where just day number 1 is off to a wonderful, wonderful start indeed, where so many of these teams are trying their level best. PX Esports on our screens right here find themselves on the second page of the leaderboard as of now. But again, that is to be said because of the fact, or to be seen because of the fact that teams like Gremlin Storm, GR Esports, and they are just so very dominating and overpowering that it becomes difficult. But again, today being the first day, will certainly be an opportunity for the teams from Group A and B to be able to understand what to expect from each other, and eventually as the days progress on along, they'll be better equipped to take on that sort of an onslaught that GR Esports has showcased in today's entire match scale. But in that, of course, as PX Esports has been consistently bringing themselves decent points, they find themselves, as I said, on the second page. But that, of course, can very well change as the games progress on from day to day. Along with that, talking about the Gatka region, as of now, they don't really have any team around them to contest the area. But as we move on, it was MARTYRS team that was also in the vicinity from the looks of it. But PX Esports will certainly not be concerned because they have already made the rotation and going to be jumping away and out of that situation.
Exactly, as you just mentioned, there was one team in the vicinity, but pretty much away as we get to see the players are rotating slowly and steadily, with Chiku still waiting near to get on the back of the buggy. Certainly not the way I would love and like to travel. I mean, certainly that's my personal choice because I don't want to be on the back and backseat position. And he is also using those horns just in order to beep and maybe just waking the player. Maybe he has just too much comfortable maybe in order to get the vehicle separated. For the moment, it is going to be PX Esports that are taking some of the shots against obviously MARTYRS. It was in the closer proximity just in order to let them know that yes, we have our backs covered. We have that cover fire. If you even try to touch our player with one lead, we will be suppressing you with 1,000 more. But for the moment, it is going to be MARTYRS 1971, the team that haven't looked good at this point till now in these 3 matches, standing on that second position. I guess maybe somewhere to 12 to 13 is where they must be standing with not a lot of points, trying to strategize in a way with a 2-2 split in a squad with the all those buildings and all those compounds getting hand onto it. It's where Gatka, the players and the teams and the whole lobby expecting the circle to constrict, and if that happens, the teams that have an early stronghold onto it will be getting a must benefit of it. But GSM pretty much close where PX is already there. Chiku opens up the fire, but GSM realizing the fact, now they will be backing off. I would say they should have waited patiently maybe for 5 more seconds, let the whole pack come into the vicinity, let the whole pack in the same crosshair, and then just surprise them.
Well, that should have been the case and approach for the side of PX, but eventually that is not what they have decided to do. On the other tangent, talk about the way Gremlin Storm tries to play every single time. They are always trying to be in control and one-upping the opponent. And this time around, well, they've done so by destroying the buggy in the vicinity. Eventually, PX Esports will not be able to do much because they don't really have their crosshairs placed onto the players of Gremlin. On the other tangent, talking about the minimap itself, Gremlin have gotten themselves on a flank angle approach, and that is something that can certainly favor them. On the other side, PX Esports, well, they're none the wiser because they saw the team for a moment and now that team has vanished. And of course, not only vanished, but also taken the tire of the buggy that was right around the vicinity of PX Esports. So a little bit of course, turmoil that PX Esports will have to go through. But eventually, again, when it comes to the play itself, when it comes to the onslaught itself, there is nothing to be spoken about because, well, there are no conversations to be had as there is no fight that has emerged out of that small little contestation. But as we move on to the map itself, we can clearly see that so many of the teams are looking very comfortable into their own locations and are not surrounded by so many other teams. And that is, of course, going to be working for them for now. But as the circle keeps on restricting itself and constricting itself, it is going to be difficult for these teams to find this sort of an open area. But now, on the other tangent, talk about center of the zone. That is where we do see FOF BadBlood making a jump in towards the area, but along with them is going to be MARTYRS Epsilon as well. And those teams are so very close that those green and grey dots could very well be seen taking a fight against each other any minute now.
Exactly, that can be the case, as pretty much close is where we get to see, and also the other teams are making a close in as the circle is constricting by second and second, and it is going to be PX that is very much close to where 7C GSM, as you just mentioned, but from back end side it is going to be also Unstoppable that is holding that compound and the visit tower that we get to see where the bridge actually connects the northern island and the part where it is the city of Georgopol where Unstoppable is there. Since the circle is going for a next shift, it is seemingly like that the Unstoppables player are taking different approach going from that northern sides of Georgopol, and since the circle is favoring most of the team, it is still Sinners that are left out of the circle. Gods Reborn on the other hand side, it is a late approach from their side. They are making a late rotation, but where they're heading towards, it's a place that is completely left open. That means not a lot of contestation, but the contestation is actually happening, or actually maybe predicted to happen on the northwestern side of the map, where there's a lot of team in the same vicinity, but still no fights are being erupted. As I mentioned in the pre-game segment, that I expect the teams to play passively, and I guess pretty much the same the case.
Well, I mean, we're almost 9.5, 10 minutes into this game, and as of now, we've seen very few select fights for now. And again, talking about BadBlood, and on the other tangent, it was Martyrs Epsilon. They were very close in proximity, but as soon as I brought that word, Martyrs Epsilon certainly backtracked their position and moved on to a separate compound altogether. And in just another 35 seconds, we're going to be seeing a shift in the zone altogether itself. 10 minutes into the game, first airdrop has been brought, and it is going to be back in the MG3 light machine gun, and the LMG is certainly very, very helpful and crucial, but as of now, of course, in the PMCO, we've not really seen that gun being utilized too much. But on the other tangent, as Archangels, not looking too good on the kill front, are going to be trying to dominate against this position from the side of PX Esports. On the other tangent, it is going to be Gremlin, who were in the crosshairs of Martyr and has been brought down. So a decent play has been created from the side of Martyr, but will that kill be confirmed? For now, that certainly does not seem to be the case, but it could very well be, as both the teams take on each other.
Exactly, and these all fights are happening on the western front of the map, where the players have actually expected the circle to turn on, and that's where we get to head towards the see the fight, where Archangels really had a good spray, and Venom was looking strong with that M4 3 spawn, and he was looking also completely stunning, and pretty much the same as we have talking about all the three members of the team. But PX Esports now, they have given a different rotation, where now they are on the left hand side, so a long rotation that has actually happened and may have helped, but Ranger realizing the fact that they need to check up the back. I guess this is the one team that may be going to play with that 2-1 split, since it's just the 3-man roster that they have joined with. It is going to be a tough affair, a challenging affair, because every time the numbers advantage is something that you want and need to be on your back, but since it's just the 3-man squad, they, even if they want to take the fight in the early stage of the game, they just cannot go aggressive and just wait the lobby where the players might get reduced. Some shots are being shared down here or there just in order to make sure that no enemy prevails in the situation, but this can be a bad move if that happens. If one team on a fine day decides to push onto them, that can be one thing. But with this, we head towards the second airdrop, where we get to see MK14 with this extended AR, and that can be certainly come in handy if any player gets towards the hand. But for now, it is gonna be learned from past that is also a 3-man squad, and all the 3-man squadders are just sitting passively somewhere in the extreme compound, or somewhere in the holding the ridges, with one player going for the flank angle. This time, it is gonna be a lift bot from their side with the flank angle, but they are closer. They are pretty much close, where Gods Reborn are making a rotation. Cow has completely gone away, but rest of the player are onto the backhand side. With that being said, it is going to be Psychoth that is taking some of the players. And it seems that Vipex bot have already spotted down the rotation of Gods Reborn, and they are TPing the place, the extreme corners. And since the Psychoth needs all these utilities, it's being shared. It's being shared, and this is something good. I mean, camaraderie, a good bonhomie between them.
Absolutely, and that is crucial as well. When you're in a team, you do need to be able to, well, based on the position that you're going to be playing on, you do need to be absolutely sharing that sort of a play style, and that is going to be required for you to do so as well if you are in good synergy. And that is exactly what is being showcased from Learn From Past, indeed, right here, as they try and get their loots all contributed against the entirety of the team. But as the game progresses on along, still 16 teams surviving as we certainly slowly and steadily move on into the zone itself. Once again, we do see Gremlin Storm going on towards the center of the zone. We did just see Evil Eye was the one who was leading that front. Along with that, GR Esports, as they make this rotation, they seem to have come across the players of course, Learn From Past. Now, Learn From Past, a 3-man squad, will they be stopping? Will they be wanting to take a fight? Or will they absolutely rush away from that entire situation? From the looks of it, they are mostly certainly going to try to do so, but there are other teams in the vicinity, and in the name of Martyrs is the one who tried to spray a little bit of that damage on towards LFP, but eventually, certainly for now, the knock has not been confirmed, but of course, a spray is going to be required.
Exactly, and in that he missed a lot of shots, and just because of that, now he's trying to go down himself just in order to get that laser guided spray coming in. But for sure, it is gonna be Novo bot that will be brought down to its knees, but from different directions, as now they are getting a lot of shots. Since Martyrs are making a lot of noise, and since they are in a position where they can actually counter a lot of rotation, it is gonna be Starboy that will be taking care of TT's Archangel's Venom. With that burst, he has been sent to the lobby, but all of a sudden Ragnar has also getting a lot of shots, as now Totter is retaliating to its best.
Well, G are playing absolutely the way they love to. That is going to be absolute domination is what they like to do. And with that, again, something to talk about is going to be the fact that Martyrs have themselves segregated, and in doing so, they can have a better half of this fight. But for now, of course, GR are just being absolutely relentless as they bring in a lot of sprays against the players of Martyrs. But eventually, will that be enough? For now, of course, both the teams have all 4 members alive, but Martyrs deciding to not be a part of this fight are going to deploy a smoke, get themselves in the vehicle, and completely dissipate that entire situation. On the other tangent, GR Esports, having lost the interest against Martyrs, are now going to try and take on fight against LFP as well, but it is not going to be that easy. On the other tangent, when it comes to the fight and the sprays rather that Cow is bringing with his Carl towards the players of Martyrs 1971, that is all onto the vehicle with just a simple idea. Bring that vehicle down, blow that vehicle up. On the other side of the map altogether, it is going to be Gremlin Storm who are taking a fight by themselves altogether as well. We did see them go into the center of the zone, so they are of course going to be the attack. They are going to be part of the attraction of all those fights, but we shall have to see if they will be the one that will reign up on top or not. For now, it is GR who are in control and are completely spraying down shots from all sides. And what a perfect sketch parade that was showcased from him, and the burst that brought down Shadow down to his knees. But his teammate is right around him, so he will of course be given that revive for now. But on all of this, the burst that is being showcased from the side of GR is certainly damaging the vehicle that Martyrs are using, and now they need to be very careful, because if they stick around that position for too long, that vehicle is going to blow and give them a knock.
Exactly, that is going to be the case. But for a moment, it is going to be Pachinki, where the circle has decided to head towards, and maybe this time in this last game of day 1 PMCO, obviously Bangladesh region, we might get to see that urban finish, and I would love to see. And in all these, it is going to be the Arctic Warfare Magnum with that 4x attached to it. Maybe we can use that, but it is also going to be the level 3 complete kit, and it's coming in and jumping. But it seems that no other players and other teams are in the same proximity. If anybody would love to have on hand, it may be a good thing, but for the time it is going to be 7C's GSM Evil going downtown, as now TREX power are powering towards GSM squad, and slowly and steadily the fights are erupting as we are inching towards the 17th minute of this game, with 16 players still alive, 16 teams still alive, and 44 players still in the game. It is going to be a whole lot of ruckus, with Martyrs now facing a brunt from the backhand side. This time it is going to be Black Diamonds. So now Black Diamonds, the team that got chicken in this last game of Miramar, is looking to strong their cement this situation in its own moment, and 1971 they really need to take care of, because for a moment, for a long time, they have holding the ridge and they have been making a lot of sounds, making a lot of noise. But since now the circle is constricting, it is not only going to be God's Reborn that they need to take care of, rather a multiple team. And yep, there we go, Unstoppable making a charging onto them, and Hitman takes the knock with Shadow goes down and Shadow getting finished. It is going to be the 3-man roster that with Martyrs 1971 needs to take care of themselves.
Well, this has turned into quite an interesting play indeed from the side of Unstoppable. On the other tangent now, PX Esports are also well equipped and prepped, and they are going to be bringing in those nades. And Zozo, you better be careful. And exactly that moment that he decided to try and bring himself down to the knees, he was knocked and he was blocked. No, not make that push. On the other tangent, when it comes down to the positioning of Unstoppable, well, they certainly do have those buggies working in their favor when it comes to the positioning of it. The cover is there, but the nades cannot be stopped. The nades are going to be very, very tricky for them to be able to, well, change that affair. But we shall see if PX Esports will get a better half of this fight. For now, they are making a push, and they are going to be pushing into the smoke itself. Unstoppable X's players are going down. PX Esports are absolutely in control. None of their players have been knocked. falters down, and eventually, in just a matter of minutes, it is going to be PAC Esports that get the better half of that fight. But that is exactly what Martyrs 1971 were mating, and this is when Martyrs 1971 are going to make this fight into their own hands.
Martyrs, go and push, go and get those all kills, because the player are already bruised to an extent that if you retaliate even of half of your total potential, you will be getting a lot of credit, a lot of scheme out of it. But for the moment, it is going to be last player from the sides of Unstoppable Zozo surviving without any first aid, without any bandage, without any sort of patchwork that the player need, and this is going to be a tough affair for them. But Black Demons on the other hand side, this team has been on a passive side. The team shows that they desperately wants to get close towards the chicken and those placement points, because it was a fight that was being completely erupting for the last 5 minutes between other teams. They were a part of it earlier, but since they knew that it is a lot of team that is joining the fray, they won't be taking the fight, else their players might lose the momentum, and just because of that, it is going to be Unstoppable's end for this moment, as now Sinners have started retaliating on other team. It is going to be Black Diamond, all the 3 players coming in from the western side. Martyrs need to take care of. Does Martyr know that it is Black Diamond that was the team that tried to pincert them down? Do they have that strong memory power? We have to still wait for that.
Well, Black Diamond 1v4. What a perfect approach he's having. Look at that. He's got a perfect flank angle, and he knows that there is a team right above them. That is something that they are going to have to decimate before they can make that push. But in doing so, Khaled has already given away his information, and 1v4 is going to get the better half of that fight, leaving Zizo all by himself, and Zizo is going to push on along and try and take on a point all to himself, but sadly will not be able to confirm a kill, and in that, he is the one-man army that is left for the side of Martyrs 1971. Going on towards the flank angle, but a perfectly set up nade is something that can probably inflict a lot of damage, but for now, it did not do so, and Zizo has a lot of information. He just needs to be absolutely on point, because he is bringing an onslaught against this 2v1 situation.
Exactly. He knew from exactly where he's gonna throw that grenade, but since he survived a sliver of an HP, thanks to that grenade brought in, but the kill won't be going into the favor of Black Diamond as he bled off that zone. But Rochi needs to pull that first hit, pull that surge at the right point in his body, and since he was not able to do so, the 5th circle gives a lot of damage. But with this, it is gonna be one team that is progressing in the closer proximity, where it is gonna be Oxygen Rising Stars. Will they rise? It seems that their future is looking pretty much bleak for them.
Well, for the moment, we are jumping into Pachinki urban area, as you were talking about and mentioning, Ankit, and it seems like that is where the final circle is going to be pushing on towards as well. Talk about PS, they are trying to be absolutely relentless as they take on this fight and try and get that perfect approach for themselves against the players of Martyrs Epsilon, and eventually in doing so, they've not been able to confirm a kill for now, but those knocks have certainly been brought in. Teammates for Martyrs Epsilon are certainly around the corner and will certainly be able to get that revival done, but will it be enough? Because as the circle chimes away from them, it is going to be a conversation about how exactly are they going to be able to make a push outside that tower. Eventually, it is VS who might, if they stick around, they might just get the better half of that fight. On the other side of the map altogether, we do have the players of FOF BadBlood who are roaming around and rummaging through the entire lobby and trying to get the kills for themselves. As of now, have only been able to confirm 1 kill, but this is their moment to shine. This is the moment that they can very well convert for themselves, as they have all 4 players alive and they have individual compounds as well as information and control. And Faceoff is none the wiser, but we shall have to see if that is eventually the case or not.
Exactly. Trenches is where FOF's player and face-offs are finding themselves into, but they really need to take the fight on the front, as the players are now trying to grenade all these buildings as we head towards the first urban finish. Will it be so? Will it be not? We have to still wait for that, as maybe there is still a space in the circle. If the circle goes away from the cities, from all these buildings, I won't be surprised. And yes, that's going to be the case, as where one team will get to see those southwestern side is where some teams are getting the advantage of the zone. Maybe down the line they can actually help it, but for the moment it is Trenches that is going to be finding a face-off's flare in the situation. Domination mode is where Kopchi is standing at the point. 4 kills already on his name. It is certainly looking good for GSM2, with the TREX power getting eliminated with just 3 kills at the 8th spot. It is going to be 7 team, 23 players alive, but certainly not much of a team onto the circle. Some teams are on the edge of the circle, and it is going to be a tough chance for Face-Off, because they are in the circle, but this invites a lot of grenades. And 4 Arc is making it happen.
They most certainly are, and VS also chiming in, bringing in a lot of parades for themselves. And BadBlood, once again, I mean, they have control, but will that be enough? As they move away from those compounds and try and get themselves in the comfort of the zone itself, they are in the open, and when they are in the open, this is when you are most vulnerable, and that is something that, of course, if other teams are careful, can very well get their points. But if not, it could very well be BadBlood who could get the better half of the situation. Now, of course, we can clearly see Abir was able to spot a few little players from the side of Gods Reborn, and eventually is going to try and pencil them down, but the smoke created from GR is absolutely going to be working in their defense and will not allow BadBlood to convert that into a point. Information is there for FOF BadBlood, but without having any sight, they will not be able to convert that into a kill. On the other tangent, talk about VS. I mean, this team is finally chiming in along, and this is where they've held against the players of Martyrs Epsilon, and slowly and steadily are just trying to bring them down and not allow them to get into the comfort of the zone.
Exactly. Look at the number of smokes that have been deployed by one team that was still trying to survive, and it is going to be Martyrs 1971. It is the only utilities used if used to perfection can only allow them to make an entry, but so is not the case, as Kabir falls down, as VANGCHUR from different directions have actually peppered down the bullets, and now this offers a chance onto Starboy to take the fight in his own course, and this has been for a long time. For the past 6 to 7 minutes, we have been witnessing both the teams chiming in upon, but from different directions. Starboy was just careless, and he has been brought down to the knees. These slip downs to Tanveer and Ridaul that needs to come into the fight, but this is going to be a time-killing approach, as they should have gone into zone, as they should have done something differently, but since the players have been knocked down, it is going to be their chance, it is going to be their responsibility to go for the revival. Revival has certainly not been the case, as he has been finally pulled down with this grenade. Oh shit!
Well, GG indeed for the side of VS. He certainly tried, but Rahul again not being able to be on point, was almost about to nade himself. Thankfully, he did not do so, did not sustain any damage, and was able to walk out of that situation. So along with him, with his teammate VANGCHUR, he's going to try and be absolutely careful as he backs out of that position. On the other side, we've been looking at FOF BadBlood for quite some time, and BadBlood have been in an interesting position throughout this entire final few moments, and right now it is just 5 meters that they need to cross, and that is going to be, of course, this road. But do be careful, BadBlood. You do need to look left and right and up as well when you try and cross the road. It is just a class 101 of doing that in PUBG, and it is not going to be an easy affair, even though FOF BadBlood have all 4 members alive. On the other tangent, we come back to the players of VS, and their fight is still not done with the players of Martyrs Epsilon.
This was bound to happen. Whenever the urban warfare comes in, there are a lot of multiple windows, and then the utilities come to its own way. The use of utilities to its perfection, whichever team does it, will be getting the chicken, or maybe some sort of heat battle is what all I can preempt, but 10 kill is what Gods Reborn is standing at the moment, and they are not stopping after eliminating Kapshi. It seems that GSM are really having a tough day in the office for today, and maybe it's a team that has been eliminated from the looks of it. Since their number has been dishighlighted, it seems that, yup, their name goes out of the live ranking standing, and they have been eliminated. But for Archangels, the Angels are being mercilessly held down and being hunted from different directions, as now FOF BadBlood with that AKM 6X. I told you, Blooder, anything can happen. Beryl 6X, AKM 6X.
Most certainly true, and they are certainly finally going to be chiming in to get that second kill for themselves. And as we move on along, 4 teams are remaining. We're 26 minutes into the game. 7th zone is where we're at, and this has turned into exactly what Ankit was predicting, a perfect urban finish. But in that perfect approach, will BadBlood be able to get the better half of the fight, or will it be VS? Or could Faceoff be the ones to reign in as the champions? We do see that VS are only stepped up with 3-man squads. Same, of course, is the case for Faceoff Esports, but FOF BadBlood have all 4 members alive. But in terms of domination, in terms of destruction, VSX are the ones who are in better control of this entire situation.
Exactly. Some grenades are being deployed from the sides of Tanveer, and it seems that for next maybe 30 seconds or 40 seconds, the player will be just testing the water. They will just waiting the other one to go for those aggressive push, or maybe get the slightest of the mistake then, and then they would love to pounce upon. But certainly it is gonna be FOF BadBlood that is looking the best contender for this time to get the chicken. With the help of this triple story, it is going to be an easy task for them to get close and more info. And with the fan down approach, as with Abir is trying to engulf the player, in which the whole squad of obviously Faceoff is sitting at this moment. It is looking pretty strong at the moment, but what I guess is for the next 30 seconds, until and unless zone pushes them, none of the the player will be loving and liking to come out in the open. The grenades are being used. The players are trying. They are trying really hard, and will that hard work will pay? The hard work will repay, will reap. We have to still wait for that. But since VS, the VANGCHUR squads need to cross the road, smokes need to be deployed, but once the smoke is there, I mean, there is a complete smoke cloud. A big smoke cloud is what. From there to there, I mean, 6 to 7 smokes are being used, and it's the moment where VANGCHURs will be making an entry, and that puts FOF in a complete blind spot.
Well, they are going to be moving as well, because again, this is the 8th circle, and it is going to be 20 meters that this player right here, Creator, needs to cover to get into the comfort of the zone. Again, when it comes to the urban finish, that is exactly what ends up happening, and such a passive approach being showcased from the teams is resulting in lot more chaos being created, where it is going to be BadBlood who are going to try and bring a lot of ruckus to the players of Faceoff Esports, and Faceoff Esports, finally the compound is going to be viscerated for the side of course, BadBlood. But BadBlood, are they going to be in charge? Are they going to be in control of that fight that they're trying to create? Abir is the one who's left in the back. Deadpool and Creator are the two-man army who are going to be pushing on with the two-man squad. Resulting, it is Faceoff resulting with only a one-man remaining. He is trying to get that revival to his teammate, but will it be done on time? It says a nade. It is absolutely set up, but Deadpool was not sure. He was not on point, and of course, from the top, Faceoff Esports get the better half of the situation, and it is none other than Rox who was able to bring in an annihilating play to those players. Amazing turnover events, which leads with, of course, BadBlood, Abir, and Divide in the back end.
He will charge down to that, as he has been knocked down, and yes, there we go. Witcher goes down, and Roger is trying to give the rival for the moment, as Faceoff is also looking strong at this moment. With this 2 players surviving, Faceoff is really giving a big dent onto the other players, but on the other hand, Tangent, it is gonna be FOF, 2 players surviving in 2 different compound. The center of attraction, it is gonna be Faceoff. Faceoff really need to take the fight on the face, but fortunately, it is VS that is charging upon to different team, and FOF BadBlood in all this situation might falter down, but anything can happen. With still a lot of first aid in the back, we might expect and get to see that urban warfare, those preempted heal battle that we can come into action. But since Tanveer doesn't have any first aid, he needs either the first aid or take the revival. But before that happens, it is going to be Abir that will be taken down, thanks to that Riddle spray coming in from the sides of VANGCHUR squad. And with this, it seems that obviously one thing is for sure, VANGCHUR squad won't be giving for that going for that heal battle approach, because they don't have a lot of meds.
Exactly, and they're just going for the absolute destruction that is being showcased from their kill feed as well. They've got 7 kills already confirmed for themselves. On the other tangent, talk about BadBlood FOF. We've got Abir being sent back down into the lobby, as he is already knocked, and there's no way he can be revived. He has only 1 teammate remaining, and that is on top of VS's squad indeed, and that's going to be none other than Divdo. Sir, but eventually, when it comes to the gameplay, it is away from FOF, because after all, BadBlood have not been able to secure that many kills. It's only 1 kill that team has been able to get. So it is going to be a conversation about VS against Faceoff Esports, and Faceoff Esports are being very quiet for now. They are not really utilizing any utilities or anything for that matter, and doing so, it is going to be tough luck for the side of FOF BadBlood, as they have been sent back into the lobby, and only 2 teams remain. We've got Rahul and Dennis, and on the other tangent, of course, from the side of Faceoff Esports, and that is a push from Rox, an absolute smacker of a performance from that lad, but will not help him, because this was the 9th zone, and that is going to be absolutely destructive in terms of the damage it dealt. Perfect play coming in favor of course, the aggressive team. That was none other than VANGCHUR squad.
Definitely a good game. 1930 damage is what they were able to solo, and that's how a chicken dinner helps you. Straight right off the bat onto the 3rd rank. In the last game, we saw how Black Diamonds get a big jump. This time it was VANGCHUR squad. With 20 total points, they look pretty strong in this match.
They most certainly did. I mean, they were absolutely relentless in terms of the kill department that they were working towards. As far as the other things are concerned, I mean, who cares about health, as what their attitude was. And they were just like, as long as we've got enough bullets, we're going to be absolutely fine. And that is what they showcased. In fact, not only that, as long as they've got enough utilities, because that team of VS, they had so many utilities to spare again and again and again and again. They kept on barraging it with Molotovs and nade parades, and eventually, of course, resulting in them walking away with that chicken dinner. So again, another team chiming in to take that chicken dinner. So
yeah,
perfect day is what I would say.
I mean, definitely first it was Gods Reborn, and then it was Martyrs Epsilon, and then again it was Black Diamond, and finally it was the VANGCHUR squad VANGCHUR squad for the last 3 games, apart from this one, obviously there was the 4th one, they looked off-colored, but the way each and every team are bouncing back, that leaves down to one thing that I would say that anything is possible in this lobby.
Absolutely is, and this is just Group A and B that we've been introduced to, of course, in the Bangladesh region PMCO. As we move on to tomorrow, Group C and D will be chiming in to showcase what they are bringing to the table, and that is where things are going to get that much more crazier. But of course, couldn't have had a better start for this entire saga. With that, let's move on along with the flow of the show. Let's get a look at the MVP.
Exactly. I mean, most valuable player for this match, the GR Esports against Sketch coming in. Remember, this guy was actually the one that found himself in that Sanhok map, the last guy surviving from the God's Reborn, where he tried to take one player down from Black Diamonds, and then it was 1v3 affair. This time also he chimes in for this MVP title. 856 damage, 2 assists done, 414 healing done. And I mean, what a bloodly match it was for everyone. Be it be VANGCHUR squads, be it be Sinner Esports, Faceoff, TREX, Oxygen, Rising Stars. I mean, multiple teams, and just because of that, we get to see a lot of team in the lot of player eventually in the top players list, with Sketch on the first position. Starboy from VANGCHUR squads, 729 damage, 4 kills, also in a better way, with Totter again from God's Reborn. So God's Reborn, the players are decimating. The players are making sure that they are having the influential gameplay. And what's your impression about today's GR's gameplay? I mean, they have been, for me, they have been astounding.
Well, again, the name clearly states it all, right? I mean, GR
God.
Esports, gods, they are also not only gods, but they're reborn.
Oh, God.
So it's like double the kind of aggression that can be showcased, and that's what they've done. So again, nothing taken away from their gameplay, nothing taken away from Gremlin Storm's gameplay. And as the day progressed on along, we did finally get a first VANGCHUR squad as well, taking that chicken dinner for themselves. With that, the match ranking showcasing VANGCHUR squad with 8 kills, 23 points. So this time around, in the lobby, it was GR Esports taking the highest kill, but again, not the case when it comes down to the way the other games have been. First time we are looking at, of course, a team that got the chicken dinner, but with a massive lead as well, because the second team right below them is only jumping in with 16 points. So again, a wonderful turn of events for the entirety of the lobby.
But again, 15 points is what God's Reborn gets out of this match. And TREX Power, the team that was close and also had a very consistent performance. This time they did fall down just a 4 total points. PX Esports also had a good time. But Black Diamonds, I mean, how often we have seen that team that gets the chicken dinner in the last match gets eventually eliminated, even at the very early stage of the game, or they just take at least 2 to 3 matches, and same happened with Black Diamonds.
Absolutely, but in that doing so, we did, of course, have a learn from the past being sent back into the lobby, GS Legends, and as well as Oxygen Rising Stars. So not the kind of play that, of course, these teams wanted to create for themselves. And with that, let's get reminiscent of the entire saga that took place with, of course, the Oppo F19 Pro moments.
Yeah, the moments that actually brings fresh out the memories. Maybe we have missed something, or maybe if we want to relive the moments, and this was the moment I want to relive, as the Nox was brought in through that smoke, through that grasses, through that big rocks, and it was a moment where PX Esports started chiming in, and then it was MARTYRS from the backhand side, and Khalid really good, a tough fight. He was looking so resilient. He was not looking to go down as soon as he was being backstabbed, but for the moment it was Black Diamond's last player that tried to grenade him, but the final kill went down to the zone. And then we shifted towards the urban warfare into the city of Pachinki, where it was VANGCHUR squad all away, running berserk, always strong, going all YOLO. The players were being deployed. You remember the smoke that was being used to create a big smoke cloud, that was thick smoke cloud, and through that 2 players traversed and entered into zone, and then it was an all easy affair for them. Eventually I was waiting and was susceptible. I was really doubting whether they would get a chicken or not, but certainly the guys and the lads held their nerves strong, and that's because of that we got a chicken for their side. And with this, we head towards the overall ranking post-match 4, where GR Esports, as you said, they are the gods, and they are at the top with 69 total points, 4 match, and look at the number of kills. I mean, the team that is closest towards them is still 12 kills behind them.
Oh yes, that is so very true. I mean, just the perfect number coming in favor of GR Esports indeed, as they are reborn with the number 69 right there, working in that team's favor. As we move on, of course, we do have other teams like, for example, Gremlin Storm, that will go down a few steps, but that's okay, because after all, this is just day number 1. Hopefully, as the days progress on, we can very well expect them to rise up, because after all, apart from the first position holder, the second to the 8th, or rather second to the 7th, are still very close. 53 points to the second team and 38 points to Gremlin Storm. So it is very, very doable. But then as you move on away from that position onto the second page, this is where there is a bit of a gap.
Exactly, 27 to 18, I guess 9 point is where Learn from Past is finding to get the deficit, but this is a team that actually just played the 3 games, so not a full quota of game is what where Learn Esports have played for the match, but certainly Senior Esports have played the full quota. TT4 Archangels played the full quota, Unstoppable played the full quota, but still not performing to its and justifying to the name that they have found in the past. GS Legend, I really wanted this team to actually shine upon, because this is the team before this match actually started was having the most number of kills in the lobby, but for now it is going to be the kill leaders on our TV screens, where God's Ribbon thought it this time 12 kills. I mean,
Wow.
the whole of the day. This is where we get to see the whole of the day, where Thotter just reigning supreme, 1703 damage, and survival time is also, I guess, the highest in the top 4. One that is closest towards him is eventually his own friend, is eventually his own teammate, Sketch.
Well, along with that, Cow, and again, I mean, this team has been absolutely reigning when it comes down to the 4 games that this team has played, and with that, the 5th spot being taken over by Kopshi right there, with of course 9 kills and 1477 damage. So this has been a perfect start to the PMCO for Bangladesh region, but this is just day number 1. There's still just so many more games to go through, and so much that these teams have to offer, and we've just been introduced to the half lot. There's still half the lot that we need to get introduced to, where Group C and D is the teams that I'm talking about, and that is where we'll get the entire picture as to what to anticipate when it comes to the aggressive stance. Yes, Group A and B are looking good, but C and D, well, we shall see if that will be the case or not. With that, we do reach the end of our show for the day. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Of course, a big thanks to Oppo F19 Pro for making it all happen. We'll be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Here we go now. 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 now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now.